Good evening, everyone. We're going to open the zoning board of appeals meeting. My name is Howard Fraser, this is Eric Spine, and Wayne Baker are members, and Sue Noyes our administrator. So, we'll start with the first hearing.
Gregory and Joanne Radner.
My name is Rachel Harris. I'm the architect representing them. They're not able to be here tonight.
Okay, the applicant is requesting finding for relief from section 97-4D. As the proposed construction will raise the height of the midpoint of the roof, resulting in an increase in the height of the structure on the lot/property located at 10 14th Street, Plum Island, Newbury, Mass. 01951. Assessors map U03-0-110. Your name again?
Rachel Harris.
Can I ask that I can sit on the other side so I can see this?
Sure.
Sure.
Why don't you pull back
Or I
just
can
a
pull
little
back.
bit
Yeah, I'll
that
pull
way?
back.
That's okay.
Now, if anybody would like to change where they're sitting or stand on the side, that's fine.
Okay, I'll get out the camera too.
Okay. This is the same drawing that was submitted, so.
Sure. Yep. Okay, so tell us.
Yes, so 10 14th Street is a single family home with 2 stories. The second story is very low. At the highest point in the center, it's a 7-foot ceiling and it slopes down to under 3 feet on the edges, but it is finished space on the interior. And this is a rendering of what we propose to do. There will be no changes made at all on the first floor, not to the decks or steps or porches. So on the second floor, we're going to raise the wall height on the entire perimeter to 8 feet and make it appear that it has 2 dormers on each side and give it an increased looking pitch from the front. And so if we look at the front elevation here, this is the existing front elevation and this is the proposed. So to the midpoint of the roof right now is 19'2", and we propose to raise it to 24'3" to the midpoint of the proposed roof.
So just looking at the application, it just, you're not really increasing the FAR,
We're
you're
not.
just kind of switching rooms around.
We are, and so I didn't bring the floor plans, but we are basically rearranging the same 3 bedrooms to be, it's 2 bedrooms move upstairs, 1 bedroom downstairs, and so everything is moved around, but the FAR remains the same, and there's no changes to the footprint.
Any questions on? Eric?
Not in terms of the explanation.
Would anybody like to speak in favor of the project?
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
give me your name,
the next door neighbor.
Okay, could you give Sue your name?
My name is Michael O'Hara, 8 14th Street,
Thank you.
and these people have always been good neighbors, and I'm willing to give up my view of the sunset certain times of the summer and speak in support of this project. I know they'll do a good job, and I know they'll go along with all of the requirements.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any comments?
The only real difference in the exterior part of the plan is really the exterior stair.
Right, so we added the exterior stair that we're adding is on the roof of the existing, and so because that's still considered not roof space, it doesn't affect the FAR.
So you come out into a well and then you go up to a landing that's higher than the roof and come up again.
Right, so you come out to like a small deck, and then you go up the lower leg of the stairs, and then the upper leg of the stairs to the roof deck that's inset you can only really see it from the back, it's inset into the roof, so you can't see it from the front or side.
Need any discussion?
The only discussion would be, one is the application is totally filled out. Understanding that it, if it's a question or understanding it's the same, but it's still not filled out. Two, there's no site plan, understanding that they're not changing or adding anything to the footprint, or there's still no site plan to understand what the existing condition is or isn't. And the height is obviously within reason, and that's the issue that it was like.
Okay, so the lot coverage and FAR should be the same. Since you're not changing the footprint.
Just pointing out.
No, I know, so that could be filled in.
Yep.
And
Yep.
do you know what the setbacks are for the property?
We didn't have a survey done, because we weren't doing any site work and the owners were hoping to spare the cost, but I mean, if that were required.
They do have, oh, I was gonna say, did you see this section here?
Yeah, again, it's just a complete application of all the parts and pieces and just understanding so that we're not assuming we're going over something or missing something just because we didn't have it.
Mhm.
I think. Do you know what the setbacks are?
I mean, we could estimate them based on council locations, but we'd have to have a survey prepared in order to know the setbacks.
So I'm just making some
Yeah,
comments.
I understand what you're questioning, and the application should be complete, but where they're not changing anything, I don't think it's really relevant to what they're doing.
Is there something that might be found on the site plan that would change?
Oh, I don't know that, because I don't have a site plan that has dimensions on it, so I'm just, if you were non-conforming on one side and you're increasing the height, it'd be something to think about, but if you're within the setback, then it's a non-issue and you're going up reasonably in the height, so it's a non-issue. So I'm gonna be a pain in the butt, but I'm trying to be a stickler for the application. I think how we can fill in some of this per what is in the rest of the application, and then write no change, no change, no
Yeah,
change.
I'm fine with
Then we can, if the board is
that. Does that sound okay to you?
Yeah.
amenable or something like that, then we could have a complete application.
Okay. So I think, since there's no change, we can just duplicate the existing.
Yes. And I wrote on my application. Does anyone want
Do you want a fresh one?
to? Yep. Is this?
On FAR checklist is exactly the same. And the lot coverage is exactly the same.
The building inspector may ask for a site plan with the building application, so should he do that, if you could provide one to
I
us.
will, absolutely, and I will find out sooner rather than later, because I don't have to hold back the application, building application process.
Entertain a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to grant the finding for relief of section 97-4D as it relates to the proposed construction raising the height of the roof that will result in an increase of height of the structure that will not be more detrimental to the existing neighborhood.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, we need you to initial this application.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just initial some of those. That's it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Dane and Diane Huntress, the application is requesting a finding for relief of section 97-4D as the proposed expansion of the existing deck will increase the lot coverage within the Plum Island Overlay District, PIOD, on the lot/property located at 18 Southern Boulevard, Plum Island, Newbury, Mass. 01951, Assessors Map U02-0-66.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Thanks.
Chris Huntress, this is my wife Diane.
Good evening.
The owner's at 18 Southern, and we've submitted plans to expand the deck. The site plan here shows the general conditions. I submitted some photos as well. I think photos would help stuff out here. That's the existing condition on the back of the house. The plan is to, this is the existing deck on the back of the house, the existing house here. The lot's about 17,000 square feet, it's a double lot on the corner of Southern and Columbia. And the deck would be an expansion off to the side. We take down that portion that is the existing stair and a little bit of the deck, and then expand across so that it connects to the side yard a little bit better. It takes our lot coverage from about 18.9 to 19, I'm sorry, not 8.82% to 9.9%, so we're still well under the 20% lot coverage. General plan for the deck is here. And we have been in front of conservation, so we've got their approval. And Sam told us that we had to come see you folks. So the idea is that the deck would expand in this way, and you'd have a one step down to a platform here, and then a series of steps bringing you down to the yard here. The elevation is a minimum of 2 feet clear underneath on the new section, and the steps come down. We're replacing, you'll notice some of the steel supports under there are a little rusted, so those won't come out and be replaced. The whole deck gets a new, the existing deck will get all new decking and rails as well. It's pretty worn. At this point, so it's ready for a facelift.
But there's no expansion or change to the deck of the existing deck, size or shape or.
There is an expansion. This would be an expansion.
Just the existing.
No, this over here stays exactly as it is.
Any questions?
part stays existing, and all the, you take the decking off, replace some of the posts, but the frame will stay. We'll wind up sistering it with new joists to re-support it, and then this section is all new.
Anybody here like to speak in favor, opposition, or make a comment?
Again, the only thing that's missing is the site plan that we previously saw, just showing the whole property and the essence of where everything is.
I'm sorry.
Is something missing on this?
No, the,
Well, there's, on the site plan, you do have the setbacks.
Yeah.
you don't have a site plan in the application itself,
It's no site plan, okay.
but I miss.
Let me see.
Existing condition.
Yeah, that's the one. You should have it on all the, all my subdivisions. Here it is.
That's all, again, just, we're looking at a deck and an expansion, and we have a nice park plan here, which shows exactly what's going on with all the details, but in terms of the relative.
I don't know why haven't you guys don't, but
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
I have one.
It was in the application.
I had it mixed in with another application. Okay. So they're not increasing any or changing the setback.
No, but I was just curious about this line and the existing
Yep. Okay.
There is a little, yeah.
walkway and the minimum 4 feet there, so it's, again, just for the record,
Right.
so if there's no use for site plan, I don't have an issue, because it's in the package.
We entertain a motion?
Sure, I'll entertain a motion, I'll make a motion to grant the finding, for expansion of the deck as noted in the proposed plans, that the proposed expansion is not more detrimental to the existing deck.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Right,
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
good one. Please take those.
Always use more copies.
Yep.
Thank you.
Timothy Sheehan, Marcus Griffin Esquire. The applicant is requesting a finding for relief from section 97-4D. As the proposed construction will increase both the height and lot coverage of the structure within the Plum Island Overlay District, BIOD, on the property located at 4 35th Street, Plum Island, Newbury, Mass. 01951, assessors map U 04-0-174.
Good evening, Mark.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Mark Griffin, the applicant, and Sheehan, who is sitting to my right. And Matt Steinman, you probably already know, is the surveyor on the project. So this is a property that has a rather large lot, it's about 27,000 square feet. Currently, it's got a single-family home on it, it's 1 story, and it's pre-existing non-conforming for frontage, for lot area, and also for the side setback. You can see that on the site plans that we got here. And just to make sure that you have the correct plan in front of you, the 128.7 should be the setback in the rear for both the existing and the proposed.
The original plans, for those updated based on conservation,
Exactly what they were.
so they may not have the current one, I don't know now.
So
At
that,
the time.
this is 128.7.
Yeah,
your revision date
you've got
on
it.
should be the 24.
Yeah.
Yep, 6/24/19.
So this shows the siting of the proposed building as per conservation. So we're all on the same page in that regard. And my understanding is we were approved at conservation.
Tuesday night we received our approval.
So we talk a little bit about the existing conditions. Again, a very large lot. The existing dwelling, however, it's a single family home and it's built on grade. And, we're right here on the beach, as close as you can get in the floodplain. And so the structure is not above flood elevation as it should be, and as the PIOD encourages applicants to have their homes flood compliant. So the proposal is to reconstruct and remove the existing structure, reconstruct a new structure, as you can see on again on the site plan. The elevation drawings I've got on the board over there. We're here for a finding because we're raising the height. We're also changing the footprint. We are, however, not going beyond any of the existing dimensional requirements. And in fact, we're making one of the nonconformities to conform. So we're gonna bring the building out from the side where there's a 6.3 foot setback from the existing structure. There's now gonna be a 12.1 foot setback, so that complies with the 10-foot requirement. So when all is said and done, this house will be much more conforming than this house. We are increasing, because it's a bigger house, we're increasing the FAR and we are increasing lot coverage. However, both of those numbers are far below what is required. The FAR will go to from 6.6 to 21.9, but still well below the 25% amount. And then lot coverage goes up from 8.6 to 13. Still well below the 20%. And so, all within compliance. Now, I did mention we were raising the height, however, the height is still going to be well below the 35-foot limit. We're going from approximately 19 feet currently with this single-story building to this 2-story building, which would be about 29 feet 3 inches mean height. So again, all within the dimensional requirements in the PIOD. And then, as I mentioned, we're in for a finding, and so the board has to find that this proposed construction is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood or the PIOD than what exists. And I would submit that number one, you have a new aesthetically pleasing structure as shown in the elevations on the board and in your packet. And that's one reason to say that it's not going to be substantially more detrimental. And then number two, as I mentioned, the existing structure is built on grade. And one of the primary purposes of the PIOD is to limit flood damage. And that's why it encourages building so that floods will not damage that building. And so this one will be built to accommodate for the floodplain. And that's squarely within the purpose of the PIOD. So in that regard, we would say that it's not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. And it's actually, the primary purpose of the PIOD is, the construction that we're undertaking. Request that you grant the funding. Thank you.
Any questions on it? All right, I can tell you're thinking, so I'm gonna ask if anybody out there would like to speak in favor
Well, we like to see
or
the,
comment or,
we'd
yeah.
like to see the.
Oh, come on up.
Thank you. I mean, I've seen the back, they showed me the back, but were the butters on the south side? What's your address? 333rd Street?
Maybe you could give them a quick overview.
So
What they're
this is
looking at.
the front elevation, left side elevation. I don't.
Left side facing the house.
I don't actually know how it's oriented.
So this
The other
is
right side.
toward the street.
We're on the right side.
This front is
Okay.
coming in from, Northern
Right, and
Yeah.
this is facing the ocean.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's,
So that's what we did.
That's what you,
So
is there, oh, there wasn't, it looked like there was a side deck, but there's just front decks.
Yeah.
front and rear.
Those are,
Okay.
the front look you won't see,
Okay.
because it's blocked by this extension here, but that'll be the deal, the last one around.
And this is no further east than what
Word
is
is aware to
Right here.
correct one, correct 30,7.
That is our-
And that's,
Yeah,
that's what conservation,
Right.
confirmed, and
Right, right, okay.
we're not going any closer to the water.
On the on-ground survey, we found that the only portion of the property that's at flood or below is the entrance to the driveway. The
Okay.
entire site is above.
Great.
We were just worried about,
We've actually recommended,
That's
you know, not to
fine. I was
disturb
worried
it,
about the
going
rent
to close the Walmarts.
And I didn't know whether I could take renters for next summer or
It's
not,
16 and
because I don't wanna take
26
renters
Oh, yeah.
if you're under major inside
We're
repair.
gonna pick up for the occupancy permit.
For conservation purposes, we're still having to reach
Yeah.
it still has to be a pile, it's still,
And
it's gonna be
how much
very high
taller is
compared
it?
to
It's
the
about
flood, so
10
they
feet
should never
taller,
have
is that
an
you're
issue.
saying?
That's
It's
what I was
well
gonna
below?
say.
It'll be about, yeah, right about 10.
10.
So going from like around 19 to 29 and 3 inches.
Okay,
so our, where is the stairs now? If this is our
I
side,
think they're up
It
here.
would
right
be-
there?
Yeah.
Or, I'm
Okay.
sorry, yeah, right in this area,
Okay, great.
right, so those are being removed
And
and.
they're going on to 35th.
Yeah,
Street
the,
side.
yeah, stair to that, is gonna be
Okay.
on the other side, which is the common path to
Right,
the beach.
that's the right way,
Yeah,
okay. It's beautiful design.
yeah, thank you.
So are we good?
I mean, yeah, I think it looks.
So we've been at every conservation commission
Yeah,
meeting.
just because we.
Tim, we've been like, hi, how are you? We're the neighbors.
Right, sure.
So, we really appreciate how responsive he's been and also just neighborly. Our concern was because our property line comes right up to his steps, but you're changing the whole
We're still changing it.
alteration.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, because
So
we've got a
we're-
double lot
Yeah,
and,
so we're going back a
Yeah.
little bit that way.
exactly, which is
And-
great.
and so a little bit more space.
Yeah.
Right, but
So
the
we're-
original stairs were right towards you, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
right at the edge, so, but we're good with that. Our concerns were
It
taken
needs,
care of.
something needs to be done with the house.
Yeah,
It's
the
been
house is a
neglected.
mess, so
Yeah.
he's right in terms of what a difference it will make, because it's been sitting there falling apart for what, 25 years, I
Yeah.
think? But he's a lot of work and
With a broken down
frustrating.
car in the driveway.
Yeah,
and
exactly,
everything.
and
Yeah.
trailer thing and whatever else,
Yeah.
so we're fine with it.
And in terms of just in construction, because I don't understand how this works, does it, pile driving and all of that that happens with these, does that affect, I mean, I don't know how destructive that is, does that affect the dunes or?
It all has to comply with whatever conservation.
I don't
Yes.
think it will because of where you're doing it.
Yeah,
And so they vibrate them down, or they'll drive them
Okay.
down one or the other, so there'll be some vibration that occurs from it, but in that really loose sandy soil, it
It's
won't-
not gonna
won't really-
shatter my windows or anything like
Correct,
that,
it-
okay?
right. Part of what they do is they
If we
filter
do,
it
we're
over
putting
the
a spotlight on
Yeah.
and a camera.
And once the foundation comes out as well, we're backfilling it in, so we're actually improving the dune.
Okay, great.
Fabulous, great.
And then as we talk to conservation, there are areas that there are no grass,
Right,
beach grass, or
right,
anything
right,
else,
right.
that we're gonna be applying more, you know,
Planting.
yeah, you know, beach plums grass, you know.
Great.
I found some blueberry bushes, whatever, that are, you know, I guess good for the terns and the plovers and, to feed and promote the wildlife in, the species there, so.
So it's great that Dr. Doolittle's gonna move in. Awesome, fine with us,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you for sharing.
We'll make note of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just checking over some of the numbers.
Did also wanna let you know that I received an email from Gabriel Dumont and Christine Morris of Utters at 535th Street, stating that they were unable to attend, but they were in support of the project, feeling that it would enhance the beauty of the island. Placing pilings is a better thing to do and provides more support,
Okay.
so.
Mark, it doesn't seem like we can have a meeting without you here anymore.
Oh, well,
You're a regular,
can I stop wearing a suit?
if you want, that's fine.
At least in the summertime.
Right.
Or at least the time.
Exactly, that's the worst part.
I think that's self-inflicted.
I know. Clients don't like to get the bill unless they decide where to sue.
That justifies it.
Do you guys have any questions?
Just doing his due diligence on the things that he knows about more than we do.
I got three questions.
Go ahead.
So the owner is listed as Mr. Smith on the application,
Stephen Smith, yes.
so who's
This is Tim Sheehan, the applicant.
Oh, yeah.
But the owner of the property is Mr. Smith, and in fact, if this is approved, then Mr. Sheehan will buy the property.
Okay. Oh, do we have anything for Mr. Smith?
Well, he did sign it.
Okay.
It's not a.
Yeah, I think it was like
signature.
e-signature.
Yeah.
Double.
The sign's flat. So you have 3 bedrooms, you're going to 3 bedrooms,
Well, we'll go from 2 to 3.
2 to 3?
Yep.
Okay, and you've got 5 baths,
3 to 3. I think it's 3 to 3.
I thought it was 2 to 3.
Nope, 3 to 3.
Okay. You get an extra one by right anyway, but it's 3 to 3 better.
but you have 5 bathrooms in the new.
I think one is an optional bathroom. We haven't decided what to do with the space yet, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, this,
So I have problems with the bonus room and the fitness room with bathrooms attached to them being less than 5 bedrooms.
Okay.
You know,
I didn't pick that up.
Well, they're.
Okay, so we know we are not planning on using them for bedrooms now, but they can't live like that. Is
Meet the
what
definition.
right,
Not planning on using them as sleeping quarters, no.
So,
a bonus room with a, looks like a guest room to me. And
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be looking for it. And
so this is the first floor. First floor. Second floor, this was imposed by the architect. And it's optional, this is not going in. We already told him that this is coming out. So, and this, he's calling it a bonus room. For us, this is gonna be more like storage.
Right,
So,
so plans I have in front of me show, just like everyone gets their own bathroom and their own bedroom, it seems like a bedroom. It looks like a
so generally, what we tell applicants when we have a concern like that is open up the doorway so it doesn't look like it's gonna be a bedroom.
yeah,
And if you're gonna eliminate the bathroom, that's even a plus.
that's coming out.
So you need to make this opening like an archway or something, non,
Doesn't provide
Yeah.
privacy.
doesn't look like privacy.
And it,
When understand offices and fitnesses, but again, there's a bath, so if there's one bath that goes with the bedroom here that makes sense. I guess this is the powder room. But it also has a,
Yeah, that was in there just for convenience of, yeah,
I don't see, but
you come out, just do a quick shower.
Yeah.
Should just be like a quick shower stall. That's all it was, it's just a rinse off.
Yeah, so again, if you fix the door would be all right, wouldn't it?
yeah, I'm just saying, you know, looking for number of bedrooms and, right, just one thing checked, and that's the only thing I see in the plan.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna put a condition on it, that, you know, limit it to 3 bedrooms.
Well, no, we
That would be
know,
enforceable.
we know that it's 3 bedrooms now.
Yeah.
But, you know, it
You rent it out,
you
or
rent
sell it.
or you sell it, and, you know, it makes it more difficult for someone to make it into a
And I don't
bedroom.
think you'll pass the visual test with Newburyport Water signing off on those plans with this shown like this on the plan.
Yeah, we really can't speak for Newburyport Water, but
No, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna have to be updated at, you know, to indicate that change that you guys are talking about, to even get to that point, I
So
think.
potentially a condition that revised plans be provided showing the doorway removed or something.
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and you're taking out the bathroom over here, right?
Taking out one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have that
Correct.
as well.
And this is just gonna be a shower or a full bath,
No, it's just a shower stall there.
okay, because it says that.
Yeah,
That
again,
makes it better, so we need,
before we got to the official architectural, you know, drawing, we wanted to see if we could, you know, get through this process before incurring that big expense. But yes, that's, you're accurate on that.
And that condition would be submit those plans before issuance of building.
Well, they typically stamp the plan here,
Okay.
as the approved
Yeah.
plan, so I think we really need an updated plan for our records here.
Right.
Cause that's what's gonna be recorded,
Right.
and be submitted to the building inspector to show what plans were approved.
Before the decision can be issued, right?
So you have 29.3 on the applicant as the height to the midpoint of the roof, but it should be 34'3", because average grade, you gotta take it from grade, you can't take it from the bottom of 4 feet.
So, which one are you looking at?
2 or 3.
Yeah, 29 is on the top, so I think it's 29 is the black first panel.
Oh, right.
Straight up,
Yeah.
so it gets to 34.3.
No, it is 34.3. That would be our height. I apologize.
that's what we looks at.
Yeah.
Which is still good by 9 inches.
Yeah, it does make a difference.
The application needs to be changed about the bathroom space.
And then on the application, with the updated site plan, the application needs to be updated for the side yard setbacks. We've got 82.9 and it's 76.9 on the plan, but 11.5 is 12.1 for the proposed line.
I think that okay. From, only going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You get that?
So you're only gonna have 3 bathrooms?
Three full
Right.
bathrooms.
Yeah, because right now you have 4 bathrooms and optional. So the application will have to change, take out optional. And bathroom 4 will be shower only, right?
Then, you need to change the doorway on the plan for the one room,
Yeah, the bonus one.
the bonus room.
Yeah.
Correct the height on the application, correct the setbacks on the application. Did we miss anything? Okay. When do you think you can get that done? Or how long would you think?
Pretty quick.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Okay. So do you want to approve this conditionally on correcting all things, or you want to continue? What's your feeling?
We can do it, I think we can do it conditionally as long as we see it.
Right.
If we don't see it, no decisions. Run it.
So what's the difference between getting a conditional and seeing it, that when it gets filed and when we approve it and the 21 days start? If we make conditional approval from this doesn't.
They can't move forward, but we don't have to meet again, and we don't have to, extend it out 3 to 5 weeks for them.
I think for the applicant, it's more an issue of a delay of potential of
Right.
closing for him, so it's been quite a long permitting process with it already going through conservation and everything, so he's hoping to close so he can start doing what he needs to do.
So
as far as
I
building
think we
permits.
have, what, 5 points?
Right, when are we gonna see the 5 points to approve of it? When does it, I mean, if we make a conditional approval and there are conditions on it, then it can be filed and the 21-day appeal process can start.
It can't be filed because Sue won't do anything until we approve it.
Yeah, what I said was we can do a conditional approval, no decision will be issued until we see these.
Updated plans.
Yeah, updated plans, updated application.
And when are we gonna see that then? I mean,
Well, we're gonna turn around as quickly as
No,
possible, but.
5 days.
I know you're gonna get your thing, and I'd be willing to meet you tomorrow afternoon for lunch. To sign off on it and or meet next week even to see the plans for you, but I'm just talking about due process and trying to understand.
So, other boards that I'm in front of, they delegate the responsibility to the administrative person, be it the zoning code enforcement person or the zoning administrative person, and they issue conditional decisions, right then and there. And the condition is, these plans must be updated to show this, and the administrator has to, approve and indicate to the zoning board of appeals decision, and then after the appeal period runs, and you can go apply for your building permit, and, you know, the building commissioner looks and says, yes, they fulfilled the criteria of the decision, and then you get the permit.
So I think all, you know, if, say for instance, they bring in the person next week. Sue can look it over if she thinks it's all right, you wanna check it?
I feel more comfortable making.
Right, no, I know, I'm just saying, you know, the options.
Email it to them while he's at work.
I've done that before, Dan.
Sue happens to be on my drive-by, so it's fairly efficient to, get paperwork between us.
So if you're comfortable with that, I think we can.
If we have a process in place.
Well, you spell out the process in your motion.
All right, so I'll make a motion to grant the finding, for relief for 97-4D, 5D, for the plans as presented with several conditions, that the final plans, and reconstruction will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood or the PIOD than the existing non-conforming structure. The conditions would be plans are updated to show the total height of the building from grade. The application is revised to show the updated information that corresponds to what is on the site plan. And 3, that the plan is updated to show three full baths and 3 bedrooms.
Want to show one shower taking the place of.
Yeah,
One is a half bath.
Okay, and
It's just a shower, I believe.
Not a toilet.
No toilet? In
Well,
there?
I thought you said it wasn't.
I'm asking.
Yeah, I thought you
Yeah,
said
yeah,
there was
yeah,
no
it
toilet.
was, it's misrepresenting with the tub there, it's not a tub, it would just be a shower. Shower stall.
But there is a toilet.
But it is a toilet,
Oh,
yes.
So 3 and 1 half bath.
yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense in terms of the plan. If this room is opened up without the door, then we've done what we did. Right. And we've held course. So the, not to add to the thing, but just to clarify that the optional bathroom and its bonus room are clarified to be open space, and the fitness room is also open space to the plan.
I think that's everything.
That's three items of condition.
It's okay.
The application,
Yeah.
And the site plan had to be updated and pulling the building forward, right?
that's been,
That's
that's
been
been
done.
done.
But the numbers, weren't the numbers?
No,
The numbers on the application didn't match the site plan.
And so that's the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
And if you do email it to me, Sue, I can look at it. Time to check it off and set back.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
You don't need them, I can take them, I can, they're gonna be updated in
Thank you.
you that the planning board did just recently, vote to, appoint Larry Murphy as the zoning board liaison.
Okay.
So he would be, more than likely in presence at our next meeting.
All right.
Okay. The second thing I wanted to mention to you is that Cricket Lane LLC has notified the town of Newbury of their request for a site eligibility application from Mass Housing for the, lot on Pearson Drive.
Byfield, former Byfield Estates, or whatever it was.
Yeah. And there's a couple of other points come with that. I did mention, to Tracy, that a couple of months ago about our needing an alternate. I have since made this a little bit more of a priority based on the fact that we will more than likely see something come before us. 60 days or so, maybe a little bit quicker, because it's not a new site, it's a site that's known, so.
Yeah, but they've already gone before Concom too.
Only for an AMRAD.
Oh.
Only for an AMRAD, so that's just verification of wetland delineation, that's it. And they were asked to, only one vernal pool is certified, they were asked to certify the second vernal pool in that conservation meeting.
Oh.
Okay.
It's a new application.
It'll be a totally new application, I know it's 24 units, I've not seen it, I don't wanna look at it at all until we get it, so.
So is Doug,
So Doug
Willing
has
to-
said that he is very willing to step in as an alternate.
Okay.
So Tracy is going to put that before the Board of Selectmen on Tuesday,
okay, good.
so hopefully we'll have that in place. I did ask her if the board would also agree to put feelers out for another alternate,
Alternate,
so
okay,
we have one.
right, okay, good.
Okay. To further that, would you like me to reach out to Camet Engineering and LEC Environmental that we used for the last peer review, since they are familiar with the site, or do you want me to reach out to a number? I'm just trying to lay the groundwork.
Let's just make sure they're not involved on the other
Correct.
side,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So Camet,
Camet was acquired by GM2. They're out of Connecticut, but they do still have a location in Amesbury.
Okay.
The same players
Okay.
that were involved before are still working at Camet in Amesbury. As far as I know, Ann Martin is still also employed by LEC
Yeah, she
Environmental.
she was very
So,
good.
yeah. So I just thought I'd throw that out there
Right.
based on,
Yeah.
since we're learning about this now.
I don't know if I have a real opinion on Camet, because we never got far enough to get
Yeah.
any feedback from them. I'm not opposed to
No,
it,
I understand.
but, you know what I'm saying? We never did, get any feedback from them because we didn't get that far.
True, and I guess I'm trying to get to the next thing that I wanna say is that we, it was the first one to come before us, we figured a lot of things out.
Right.
The applicant dragged things and changed things,
Right.
and I think we would need to we have our articles of review or for this, I think if we could get Adam.
That we've already laid that groundwork, because Adam does work for me, Telemann,
Okay.
and Costa.
Right.
He's the Costa, so,
Is there any chance
yeah,
to have a
so-
meeting with Adam, just to go over the timing and the dates and
I think once we.
Once we get the application,
Yeah,
or
at
the
least the
town
town
gets it.
officially gets it.
Town gets the
if
application.
the town gets the application, it would be wise for us to have a refresher with Adam.
Absolutely.
At some separate meeting or something to just review the requirements of 40B and the steps and the process. And then how we would think that we would draft a schedule to live by that's on a printed piece of paper that's printed. And any revisions or anything that last time it was a constant revolving, that we spent all the time on the site.
Right.
And we never really got to other issues or other boards or any other details. And, it's a complicated site. It should be easier this time, but it's still gotta go through all the
Still the same
same
site.
processes. It's still the same site. And there were, lots of other issues.
Well, I guess you could reach out definitely to Ann Martin's company, in my opinion. I thought she was very good. Camet, maybe would say we might be interested. Would they be interested?
Right, you're putting feelers out to see if they're still eligible, willing to do that work for the town, so that we don't spend weeks trying to engage somebody, or we have an idea that we could engage them as soon as we get an application.
And
We do
maybe,
have Joe Swarsky, I think it is, that does work for the planning board. I mean, they do secure him for peer review, so I could ask him about it, and if you have any other recommendations,
well, I was
I
gonna
can.
say that maybe once they officially apply and we meet with Adam,
Mhm.
he might
Have a
have some
recommendation.
names of
Yeah, have some
people that he has a
recommendations.
relationship with.
Or is
Who
he
did
in
we
action?
reach out
Yeah.
to last?
Oh, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I know.
I'd honestly have to go back.
I know it was Ian.
I think I did 3 or 4
Yeah.
for each kind of peer review.
Yeah.
So,
So I don't think it'd hurt to just ask them if they would be interested if something comes up. And if it does, the sooner we can meet with Adam, the better off we'll be. So is there a reason why it took 2 months to see if the selectmen would put a feeler out for the, or they just forgot about it?
I can't really answer that. I think it just kind
One
of,
time?
held down the priority list a little bit, that's all.
Anything else before we close the meeting? Set a date, I guess.
Yeah.
So what do we do in your absence?
We're gonna either move forward or move backwards.
What?
We're either gonna move it up a week
Oh,
or move
oh.
it back a week,
Oh,
would be my preference, and not have a substitute.
So I am gone the week of the 12th. So that, the week before would be the 8th, or the week after would be the 22nd. So I'm not sure what your all schedules are.
I think the 22nd's better for me, but that's, I'm usually pretty flexible. I don't have any vacation planned next month, no.
the 22nd, what week is that, so I don't wanna do the 8th,
It would be, we'd be looking at the 8th or the 22nd for a meeting.
22nd, for me.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. Maybe the week of September 1st, that would be helpful, but,
We're not waiting that long.
no, I'm just saying, I'm top of my head.
Is the 22nd okay?
It's kind of
with
a
you?
5.
That's what I suggested, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
22nd.
It's okay.
It's a 5 Thursday month anyway, so.
Yeah.
We don't lose too much. Okay, so we'll do that for 8/22. It's our next meeting. Okay.
We have a motion to adjourn,
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
And I'll make sure nothing's scheduled.
We got Eric's good side now, we're good to go.
Alright. Hi, good morning, everybody. My name's Bob Connors, Chair of the Building Committee.
Eric Swan, Vice Chair, Building Committee.
Kevin Heffernan, OPM, Vertex.
Mike Riley, Police Chief.
Zell Toxic Context Architecture.
And this is Friday, July 19th, 2019. And I want to welcome John Kellogg.
Morning, everybody.
Morning. All right.
Sure, not yet.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. We had a good week. We'll get into it more detail, but we did receive both Planning Board and Conservation Commission approvals and sign-offs on this project, and we're either in the appeal period or it'll start Monday, Tuesday, depending on just the logistics. So,
Martha said she was gonna file the next day.
yeah. And I know conservation, I'm usually kind of Monday is the day, so that keeps us on schedule. And everyone has their packet in front of them. Fred, there's an extra one up here if you want to just follow along.
Obviously, a lot of this is our housekeeping issues, public notice, our agenda, and then we have our June 21st meeting minutes with attachments of CTX and Vertex. Does anyone have any questions? Do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
Make a motion to accept the June 21st meeting minutes.
Okay, second.
Second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. All right, and we go right through that. Okay. So the next item in your packet, let's go to open items.
Oh, okay.
It's probably. Do you have, invoices here, Vertex that you can sign?
Okay, when did they come in?
Came in the other day. Dated July 9th.
Well, let's do this, we'll just bring that up under communications if we can. This is a, all right, does everyone have the open items list in front of them? Probably a dozen pages into your packet. All right, we've made some great progress in closing these out. Anything that has a line strike through it is been complete. Mike, the chief, gave us a letter requesting grant money from NEMA. And we shared that with the Board of Selectmen, and what they did is they generated their own letter and attached Mike's, and it's been sent off to NEMA regarding Seabrook Station. What?
I did get a phone call
Oh,
from
did you?
NEMA yesterday, and the head of Area 1 from NEMA advised there are no grants out there right now as far as state grants, but they're gonna keep their eyes open, but they will
Reach out to Seabrook?
Yeah, reach out to Seabrook on our behalf and hopefully get them to come to the table, come to one of our meetings, and but as far as grant money goes, there's just nothing out there right now.
All right, you know what, I'm just gonna make a notation of that too. I think once we get this into the bid process, it'll free up some time where we can drill down on that. I mean, the grant can come any time between today and we go out to the bond market, so we get some time. All right, item 2, Kevin, status of TCS drawing specifications for comp tower. They've been outstanding. I know you were reaching out to them.
Yep.
Uh,
We reached out and we had a phone conversation with Todd, and then I chimed in with Zell on the same day. That was I wanna say that was the 21st of June.
We could go yesterday.
Yeah. So in our discussion, we went over exactly what Zell needed from Todd and what Todd was gonna prepare. At the end of the conversation, the two of them were coming to an agreement on what Zell wanted, where the location of the tower was gonna go, and they were providing each other with information that the two of them, in their engineering ways, are the only ones that know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So,
Zell, you have any open items with TCS at this point?
Yes, Todd has not actually gotten back to me. He was going to do his, after having received all of the information regarding the number of antenna that are gonna be up there, which impacts his load on the tower. He said he was gonna recalculate the impact loads on the building and that he was gonna get back to us. We have not heard from him yet. So in order to
that's from our conference call we had the other day?
Yeah.
Okay.
in order to finalize the structural design, our structural designer went ahead and developed his analysis based on the information he had, which was the.
Yeah, it's right, it's
Yeah.
following the
Yeah.
email and then
Yes.
kind of the
So
typical.
he just made sure that our structure would meet these loadings that are in this package.
Okay.
But Todd said that he would confirm the exact loadings, so if they were different, that he was gonna get back to us, and let us know. So that our structural engineer could make any modifications if needed. And we haven't heard back from him, so basically until we hear back from him, our structural engineer has made some assumption, and that's what we're gonna go with until such time that we have.
I'm gonna make a
more
suggestion
specific
if it's
information.
possible. Could Zell, you and Kevin give Todd a call
I
today?
can certainly touch base with
I
him.
mean, rather than
No
waiting for
problem.
him to,
I'm
Oh.
doing it right now,
That's-
so, yeah.
good man.
So we just need that final information. The other thing that we need is, we are making the assumption due to the complications involving coordination between our construction project and this tower, that we would be prepping, I mean, it's our suggestion that the GC would prep and do all the prep work to receive the tower. But we are also proposing that the GC pour the footing.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Foundation,
Yeah,
because we're literally up against our foundation.
And Todd's gonna have to do it.
Well, that's just it, we're showing it on our documents as part of our work. Because of, again, logistically, it makes sense for it to be done
Absolutely.
when the foundation's poured.
Yeah.
That's the only reason, and it adds money to a little bit of money, it's not much, just cut the yard of concrete, but it's just.
To have it tied into our site prep and
Yeah, yeah.
before, yeah.
It seems
No,
silly
yeah.
not to, so that's what we're assuming. However, in order to, again, our engineer has made assumptions about
Right.
what that is.
Yeah.
And we have enough information that we own something, but the tower design's gonna have to.
So, I mean, you're looking for blocking requirements, how it's gonna be
Yeah,
pinned back to the
yeah,
building,
and we're already.
bolt patterns in your
We're doing all
concrete.
that stuff,
Okay.
and so we're gonna need their final design
Right.
in order to complement that, and when it goes out to bid, so that
Okay.
everybody knows exactly what's going in.
What goes on in that is, at each floor, there'll be,
Yeah.
threaded rods coming out the building for them to tie their clamps, and then it goes back so many feet through the joist system
Yeah.
Yeah.
with extra blocking and then a plywood diaphragm.
So, at every floor elevation,
Yeah, there's
and
reinforcing,
then finally the attic.
yeah, and there's
yeah.
something at the roof line, that's the more critical, complicated one.
Right.
Because it is, and it has the highest load. The higher up you go, the more
Wood load.
wind load there is, so that one's gonna be a little bit complicated for us to do, and it's still under design.
Is there any question about what's on the antenna?
Not anymore,
Yeah,
we
we had a
settled
call
that,
about that, so that's all we've been.
on the tower, you mean?
Right.
Yeah, we got the number of we have.
There's a lightning rod, there's 3 antennas that,
Yeah, well, we've got a dozen antennas
Yeah.
out there now.
That number went up, we had a call between the fire chief, police chief, town IT, Zell, myself, his engineer, Todd. We went over all the requirements that were gonna go on the tower, so we could do his design. So it went from a few antenna to
To a
many
dozen.
antenna.
Yeah.
so we're not, our departments aren't holding up any information
Right.
code in
No,
order to do this.
no, Todd just has to do his.
No, I mean, I'm glad to hear that we're actually incorporating, so it's gonna be a central tower for kind of all municipal needs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's why it got multiplied so many times.
Yeah, good.
So I think there's a redundancy.
Yeah.
For each one,
There
if
is,
something was to
there
go
is.
down.
Is there any emergency broadcasting system tie-in that we should have?
Is the MEMA, the emergency management command and control radios around that tower as well.
Okay.
And so that has the capability of doing that.
So our backup gen, keeping that tower up and running,
I like where you're going with this.
we'll be able to receive, whether the landlines are down,
Yes,
we'll still be able to receive MEMA
Yeah.
emergency updates. Okay, great.
which is a good reason to have Seabrook pony up some money for that. Just saying.
Well, you know what,
I like where you-
I think the good thing is, Mike, having you pick this up with your letter, it was very well done. And having the Board of Selectmen, piggyback on with that. We'll invite Seabrook down here, and they're smart enough to know that they just don't need any unhappy communities within their radius of 20 miles, whatever it is.
We work very well with them, so they've always been willing to step up to
We
the
haven't
plate
been
before, so.
overly concerned with their concrete issues, but we
No.
could quickly become concerned with them. All right, so,
So before we go out to bid, we're gonna have to do a little bit more designing to actually
yeah, I
comply with
mean, I'm gonna be honest, if Todd has to address this, we're gonna give him
We gotta.
Wednesday of next week.
Yeah, we really don't have much more time.
No, I told him it's a very hot item. I said to him, I also emailed you,
Okay.
Zell, so you have that as well. One thing I did hear from Todd before was all the documentation and the sign-offs for him complete? Because one of the things he did say.
He has a fully executed
Okay.
purchase order from the town, all of the documents that, and it's actually part of our record. If you go back, Kevin, I'm not sure if it was the last meeting
Well
or.
over a month ago or something.
Yeah,
No,
probably.
I know you had done that.
Tracy did it right away, so, and, you'll have it in one of your emails,
That's what it
okay?
is.
And it's, I'll let you know exactly, I'll look at it after the meeting, but,
Okay.
and you can forward that to him.
I will.
And he can. Alright. Alright, Kevin,
Yes, again,
item 3, you're a
I
busy
have
guy.
4.
Yeah.
Here, I'm happy almost all these are done.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. All right,
Where we at on cost for commissioning testing?
so right now, we've been going with what we've been using in recent jobs. There's still more information I need to get from Context in order to send it out to the bidders in order to get a price back. I don't have the specifications that they would need currently. We got the drawings last meeting, but they still need that finite information for the specifications in order to send it over to the 3 potential bidders that we have on our list.
Have you formally requested in writing to contract what you need?
No, I have not,
When are you gonna do that?
right now.
So you're talking about, the specification section that relates to
Yes.
testing, okay?
Testing and commissioning are both,
Both.
so the different, two different.
Yeah, did 2 different animals.
Yes.
Testing's got concrete steel.
Right, the
Commission
question,
will be else.
the question I have is what was decided or has been decided with level of commissioning and to be done here? I mean, we don't, unless we know what we're commissioning in some total, because commissioning can be many things.
Right, but we're going, so it's not lead related for,
Okay, so we're just
we're not trying to
commissioning
get that requirement.
mechanical systems?
And windows, make sure no leaks or anything like that.
So do they do the building?
Building envelope, one would
So
be
they do
building
the building
envelope, and the other one would be mechanical.
Well, if you turn to your next page on open items, you have the list of required testing for projects. John, hey Joe. John made an update. No, I think the guys grabbed the 2 copies that we had printed. So here's our list of, what on this list, because this came from you, Sal, this list. What do you need beyond this, Kevin?
Let me find out, let me pass this on,
Yeah.
and I'll find out for you today.
This is the base sort of level
Mhm.
of testing. But like I said, we did not know at the time the level of commissioning that you guys want to do, because that's always been a owner sort of decision.
And what you'll get, Bob, is you get like a smorgasbord menu of things that you can choose with prices next to it.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is what we got, so why don't we go through these right now?
This is the list of testing for site prep, structural, plumbing, fire protection, mechanical, I think are required by
Yes,
code.
yeah,
And this is the minimum required by
that's
code.
correct.
You could always ask for more, but there's a minimum. Then the commissioning is solely a choice by the owner as to what level of commissioning or what you'd like to commission. So it's two separate things.
Usually driven by the sophistication of the system.
And the building.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we're gonna want our mechanic, MEP, I mean, HVAC's gotta be balanced, they gotta load test the gens.
But
balance happens already.
that's all part of the work anyway.
Yeah, yeah,
This is
right.
why commissioning is above and beyond all of that.
You get a fully operational system at the end of the day.
Which is
This is
balanced,
making sure that that fully operational system meets all the,
is operating at optimum
Okay.
sort of.
so it is an additional cost, it's a cost that, at the end of the day, you're gonna have to decide whether you really wanna incur or not.
Well, I mean, we're carrying, what, 30K for,
Yeah.
I guess the question is that an adequate amount, what we're talking about? What's it been running,
I think for the civil
generally.
system that we have, that it doesn't require a lot of extra is probably reasonable.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we get 60K for MEP commissioning and construction testing.
So 30 and 30, probably even
seems-
less on the commissioning side.
It's a little bit high
For this.
for this size building.
No,
For systems.
but as, obviously I wanna get the updates so then we can update. I'd rather be high and reduce, obviously, so.
But if I was to stick my neck out, I'd say that 60 for the two is plenty.
Yeah.
For the size of the
Yeah,
site.
there's no doubt in my mind that we probably are, this is gonna come in 35, 40K.
That's the anticipation, that's all.
Yeah. But until you go back to us, Kevin, so John, why don't you go over the list and you made your comments on recommendations?
Well, from my experience, like the first one is definitely an independent testing agency, like a Turner Briggs or UTS.
So for all your site prep,
All site prep,
Yeah,
all your concrete soils, testing, and then, if we wanna have masonry, if we wanna have structural steel, if we wanna have wood framing, if we have to do that, that would be.
there are some tests of steel connections and things that are required now.
So that would come under them also.
Floor, I believe.
Mhm.
So that would certainly fall under that.
It's a matter of, do we have the independent agency do the reinforcing to complement the structural, which, because they're there? I mean, depends what
Yeah,
the
it's
town wants.
usually not a problem to get that work done.
'Cause they-
It's not, that's easy stuff.
Especially in a small town like this, will the building inspector, when they can come out and look at rebar and the footing and the walls, or will they allow the John Turners of the world?
where it's gonna be a controlled site, the periodical observations and affidavits or,
Well, cities are different than towns sometimes, so,
but
So
everyone
most-
should realize that if they're gonna challenge a professional engineer, you better be hiring one.
Oh,
challenge.
I don't anticipate that, long
I
as
don't
we
think there's
have,
gonna be any
Yeah,
issues
yeah.
because it's such a simple structure.
I mean, this
Right.
is a residential structure supersized.
Super sized.
Right.
That's another difference, so.
The cost is basically in the schedule of the work in terms of calling a company up to come out here. They usually have 4-hour minimums of
Yeah,
time to arrive and do testing. So understanding that the CM knows what he's doing and that the work is moving in accordance to schedule and you're not calling him up every single day, but you have certain checkpoints that he drives to see right? So, and most of that's pretty straightforward because
yeah, it's pretty routine.
every project needs it by code.
Kevin, is there anything on this document that you need more information on?
really?
You get site prep, structural, plumbing, fire protection, mechanical, electrical.
No, that's like,
This isn't controlled construction, but like Boston, Cambridge have controlled construction, and the state actually has controlled construction documentation where you actually fill out a form that is required and check this.
Yeah, that will be done. This was
But
a
that's all
preliminary, this was
based-
generated
Yeah.
for this discussion,
Yep.
basically, so that we'd have a starting point.
But there's nothing on this list that isn't on that form as a requirement,
so.
right? And that's what I'm getting at.
And my comments were just where I thought, who does what, like, are we gonna do independent, air balancing, or are we gonna let the mechanical guy do it?
They'll own it anyway.
And they're gonna submit
They have to
they're
do
gonna
it,
do
and
a
then
stamp
the
report.
only issue is, if you go through with commissioning on top of that, the commissioning agent does basically oversight on
They'll-
all
they'll
of the,
critique
all of
the,
the work.
balancing
And
report.
they'll say, yes, this is actually balanced, this is actually working as designed, blah, blah, blah.
And it's not a
That's what
sophisticated
you're
system
paying
either,
for.
so.
No,
Yeah.
you're
I
not.
didn't mean to overkill it, but it was
And
just.
usually, I mean, I don't know of any mechanical contractors that are doing their own balancing. They're all getting a third party to come in and do it,
Yes.
generate a report.
Yeah,
And that would be the minimum I'd wanna see is, the balancing report from a third party.
Right, because then they give the same report to us, because maybe Eric can compliment this, is that sometimes that report doesn't quite get to the right people. Things never end up happening, so.
Alright, so Kevin, if you've got enough information, can you identify who you'd recommend for doing the testing and commissioning as far as third party vendors?
Yes,
And a range of cost or not to exceed cost?
okay.
We do generally go up to one commission.
Well, the new one we've been doing is PSI. I think it's pretty good, internet PSI. Obviously UTS,
Yeah, UTS, we've worked with them a lot in the past.
And that would be one of the questions I would ask you, is there somebody that the town, because this is getting just 3 proposals.
Yeah.
And then the committee will pick who they wanna go with, or is there somebody off of the list that I have, anybody else that I might not know about that you've used before?
I mean, I think that, I don't think we have any preferred vendors.
No.
It's whoever qualified, who's been doing all the testing is.
Not unless there was somebody that was specifically local that would save on travel time, but
I think I just gave them John Turner, because I've seen them a lot, and they were in Salisbury, and they're close by.
Okay,
Otherwise, it's.
I'll get that information from you.
All right, well, why don't we, any other questions? Eric, any other questions on the testing and commissioning?
Nope.
John?
Else?
Kev, you know what we're looking for?
Yes, sir.
Chief, I know this is Latin to you.
Yes, that's why I'm returning an email.
Yeah.
I'm listening, but
Sal, what, any recap or additional information you want regarding, or any other comments on this?
no, not really.
All right, we turn to the next page, it's hardware standards.
You missed number 5?
Well, I'm just going through the packet on,
Okay, I'm just going off the list, so.
yeah, no. So you just turn to your next page, it's hardware standards.
Right, so we reached out to,
I provided the baseline.
Yeah.
Why don't we just go with that? The only suggestion I would add is the Schlage Everett core, IC core, large format, is probably what we should go with. It should be a unique master key system only to the police station. It shouldn't match the town's
right,
general. The only other question I'd have, Zal and Kevin, would be probably half of our doors are electrified in some way or another.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you what we've done on projects lately at the institutional level is we specify all electrified lock sets, whether we use them or not. The lock set it's capable of being added. All the doors are specified to have a wired electronic, electric hinge. So it's already bored. So now all your doors come in for everything with your boring. All your lock sets are already prepped for electrical. If I buy them outside, they're $600. If you get them from one of your good vendors, they're $30 more, $40 more to electrify them. It's pretty. Then I think what that does is it gives us the ability on any lock set, not a passage set or closet set, to convert that to electrified.
If that's what you wanna do, what I have to let our hardware consultant know.
I'm throwing that out there for,
Right.
So the ads cost.
yeah,
Regardless of, I know what you're saying, it's cheap to do it upfront, but it's ads cost.
But how many doors are we talking about? We're talking like a handful of extra doors that aren't already uncontrolled?
it's one of those things that'll be, it will be,
Actually, I'm not sure that the door schedule has in the notations which doors are secure, how, we'd have to look at the security plans, which actually show the connections to the doors, so.
why don't we, I think it's worthwhile,
If you wanna go that way, we can certainly do that.
well, you know what, I think it'd be good to get some feedback from the chief. So Mike, basically, every door lock set has multiple functions. You can have a standard passage set, which is just a knob with no locking device. For evidence storage, you're gonna want storeroom, which means it can only be unlocked with a key or with a card access activating it. A classroom function means that your training room could be unlocked with a key and left unlocked during the course of the day that you were going to have, or it would, office function is you have the actual knob inside, so anyone could leave a door locked or unlocked. But each one, you eliminate some control on who's unlocking or locking the door. Right. So the storeroom one, and this is usually all of your evidence secure areas, armory, where you want totally limited access. That would certainly be the way to go there.
Yeah, anything outside where we're passing the public, keeping the public, obviously, we want electric to buzz through if we needed to, but.
Yeah, well, there's a significant number of doors already that are all power.
So, you don't have a drawing set, do you?
Yeah, I have a.
You have a drawing set? No, a full, like.
Yep, at the station.
Okay,
yes.
so E 5.1 to E 5.2. On that, it shows like the front door, REX, DJ, EL, DC, EH. So electric hinge, door contact, electrified.
You see all these doors that are, these mean that they're all ready for,
So
they will all be on.
if you quickly walk through the plan with like a highlighter and just check that every single door that's labeled is required to be labeled, and if there's a room or a door that isn't noted, then just mark that up.
Okay.
So this is not, obviously, these are based on our experience, our engineer's experience, and as far as which doors usually are secure in that way. But if you want, like Bob suggested, you just prep them all.
Right, so you've got like, you've got
$10 more a door to prep it for electrified hinge.
conference room, a break room,
There aren't a lot of,
There's also
3, 4.
the entrance into the attic of the control. Also, obviously you can exit out of it once you're in it, but
doesn't look like there are a lot of doors that are,
they're
they're
not.
not.
Well, that's what I said. It's why.
So,
it's why
and if you look at like a door that doesn't have anything that says DC, it has a door contact.
Yeah.
That means it's set up on the alarm system to understand whether the door is open or closed.
Okay.
But I mean, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, it's like 4 doors on the first floor that aren't 5 doors.
And like I say, if we do one change order to electrify
it's gonna be more than all of them.
all of that, Just doing the horizontal bore on the pin in the field is a pain in the.
Yep.
in the tooth.
I know
Or, I
trouble
mean,
with that happened a lot.
Well,
Well, because security comes later.
I give you
Well,
an example,
It costs them a few $100s, I mean,
61 story, one Dalton Place. It went out to bid at $350 million, it's now at $650 million. And the hardware consultant on that, I mean, because it's hotel for retail, mixed use, all high-end doors and a different generation. I was talking to the super on that, and that from now on, every door he ever orders will be prepped for an electrified hinge, and every lock set.
So every door on the second floor has one except for the toilet room.
Yeah.
I don't think you should move.
Well, that's probably gonna be a push-pull anyway.
So it's almost already there, it's just a couple doors on the first floor.
yeah, I mean, for the amount of money it would cost.
Well, you know what, by default, what it does, it makes our life easy. Because if we find we wanna add it, we get drop ceilings, dealing with drywall. We'll make sure that your system has capacity to be upgraded if we wanna add a CAD reader. So let's just go through that. So Zell, you've got, I mean, we're basically using the Schlage ND series was the.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I can tell you what's in the spec. When I brought it. Door hardware.
Copy.
No, this is just one.
Oh, a big volume.
It's a very thick book.
Pages a month.
Yeah.
Well, I know, I mean, you know what happens with specifications, it's cut, paste, delete from project to project, so.
Yeah, it is, but it doesn't.
Town of Wareham, what's that doing?
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Yeah, of course we do.
Let's see.
I did better, wasn't my job.
Cylinders and key. We've got scheduled Schlage, and there's always alternates that have to be listed. And we have a number of alternates, but which model Schlage, wait a minute, let's see.
Well, the cylindrical we're looking.
It's cylindrical, yes.
Yeah, it wasn't more.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, whether it's Schlage, Sargent, or, I mean, they're all.
Yeah, that's.
I prefer Schlage for some reason, but it's, they're all gonna receive the same large format.
Yep.
The,
Transfers.
yeah, the,
Electric strikes,
so are they doing, they're proposing electric strikes rather than hardware?
yeah, that's usually how he likes
Okay.
to do it.
Okay, it's actually cheaper.
Yeah.
Who's the consultant in this order? That's. Good job.
I have to think, the name escapes me.
Oh, don't worry about it.
They
Well-
actually, his name is, Kevin,
Well, I mean, if he's specifying electric strikes, then
he is,
to have electrified lock sets, you'd have one or the other.
yeah.
So it almost makes it a moot point, and doing a field prep on a frame for electrified strikes on it isn't a big deal.
Well, we have to decide, I mean, if you wanna go with electrified lock sets, that's a different spec than This is what we've done recently in other projects also, gone with electric strikes versus lock sets.
Doing the electrified lock sets is actually cheaper
It is.
because they're adding about $50-$60 to an existing lock set, or $100. Every electrified strike's gonna be $180-$200. The one drawback on electrified lock sets is they're powered and they tend to be warm to the touch. because they're energized. I know Mike is digging down on this.
We won't touch it, let's save some money. That's my opinion.
Oh, save money.
You'll have these all pinned back with a block anyway, that's.
The fire doors all locked down, keep them
Yeah. Yeah. Is that convection heat or radiant?
Do we,
Well, if that's what, I mean, if that's what you want, we'll have to change.
I mean, I think what we gotta do, Zell, in the next 5 business days, we've all gotta go through these to give you feedback.
Well, frankly, I was hoping that the feedback was gonna come before, but,
Baby
I know
steps,
it's-
if, baby steps, please.
yeah, because we're desperately trying to get this all wrapped up, so
Sure.
it's,
Well, I think we need to do that line by line review on this section by, I mean, certainly some of them.
but well, if we get to it today, I can discuss, we can talk about which sections I think we need.
That would be a good start.
Which I had highlighted when I had sent out the specs on 50%, but
I did one pass on just a certain thing, but I didn't get back.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I haven't, other than just kind of skimming through them. Joe, what did you end up doing in Salisbury for electrified hazards? Was it all strike or was it?
I believe it is strike.
Yeah.
Because we had a big change, because we kept adding, and of course, doing it in the field was a pain.
Yes.
Because we already had it all framed. And if you look at that list I gave to Jeff and I gave to Mike, it's like, most of the change rooms in that job was electrical related, which is why I wanted to share it, so that you could think about those, and you guys could do from your experience. Because obviously it is more expensive when you have to do it that way.
Well, I mean, it's an opportunity to, add to the cost of the job, which every contractor is. I mean, you're going in very tight at the beginning and you're hoping for the change order
I
option.
was very happy with that job, even though it wasn't.
It's the
But,
reality.
no, it's just, it gets to become a pain in the neck, man, especially $200-300 items, you get a couple hundred of them.
Yeah. Chief, reach out to your counterpart in Rowley that just opened up there.
That's a good one.
And actually, I'd like to take a look at their building.
Oh, yeah, set it up.
You know, I think it'd be a good little field trip for us, and Agawam Diners right down the street for breakfast.
Absolutely.
And
We could always.
Fred Davis said he would buy, so that would be.
Well, maybe it's a good thing to ask Ralph how that was, or Wes, how that job worked out with the changes and extras that might have got missed, or people decided they liked and we never thought of it.
Well, going back to if we prep every door for electrified hardware, and all the hardware comes electrified, the only thing you're adding in cost to is the keypad tying it back into the system, or the controller, but it's usually, it's this much extra up front.
Right.
And
For the number of doors we have, it sounds like you're.
Well, let's.
Yeah, I don't think that's a big deal,
Doors,
it makes the decision to go with all doors,
Right, but it's just a matter of, is it strike on the.
Yeah, that's the
The
bigger.
beauty, if we do electrified lock sets, then everything is already prepped, already electrified. Just a matter whether we use the feature. If we miss something. And there's no other prep, because, well, there'll be the addition of, you'll have to supply an electrified hinge. We're not gonna require that on doors that don't have.
Right, there's
power,
no
but
need
the-
for closet doors to have.
So, Chief, find out if he.
I just
all right.
texted him right now, waiting for a return.
All right, and so we'll do a punch list, we'll update our open items with this, and we'll make a decision on whether it's strike versus
Yeah,
lock
that
set.
would be good to know, because we'll have to modify the spec.
The other thing too, John, you had gone through the spec and it was calling for all painted doors,
Yes,
and we wanna go with just
Natural?
factory maple, yeah. Do
good, so factory finished.
Factory finished maple.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
It's so much better, and the doors don't get
It's
damaged.
$10 a door, and it's.
Yep.
it's-
Yeah.
And
I've done them both ways, and it was a hard show on some oak doors on the job. I ended up sending the doors back, because
If
in
you
the
want
factory, if
both
there's an
natural,
imperfection, they
is
can
what you're
fix it
saying.
right in the factory.
Well, what it'll
That's
be
why
is,
I'm asking.
it'll be an architectural grade door.
Yes, of course,
But, a factory finished clear maple.
clear.
Right,
Yeah, that's
Right.
fine.
It's maple, right?
that's what we want, we don't want, I mean, honestly, the difference between birch and maple, huh?
Eucalyptus.
We want Plum Island cedar as the veneer.
Driftwood.
Any other, I mean, we're gonna use Van Dupin on all of the panic bars.
Yep,
The LCN 4040 closure is the minimum standard,
yep, standard stuff.
and,
Nothing new about that.
all right, well, I think we've beaten that horse to death.
Yeah, I guess it's all, but really what I need to specifically relate to our hardware guy is the exact requirement on the cylinder, on the actual cylinders, cores, and the level of mastering, like what is the kind of system you want? You want one key to run it all?
So what I'll do is, I mean, we
want
wanna have one master key.
Well, that's why I'm asking.
But when you come to the evidence room, only 2 or 3 people have that key.
Yeah.
It's gotta be a separate key from the mastery.
Well, this is why
That's
this has
why
to
we
be
have the
decided.
card access too, right?
Okay.
And you can
Well, the
program
card
that.
access.
Well,
Yes,
above and beyond that,
of course.
what happens, Mike, there's a control key, so every little cylinder can be removed and swapped out
Yep,
if you possess the control key.
Alright.
I would suggest you have the control key and the master be, you're the only one that has access to that, or your deputy, or the chain of custody that. And then if you have to do something, it starts out with either you or your deputy controlling other than card access.
Right, okay.
Alright, so, you know what I'll do is I'll send you back this hardware schedule with a lot more detail.
good,
Okay.
yeah, because
And
that's,
we thought that,
make sure.
we thought that Sam Jocelyn was still doing this, but he's not, and it's probably a little more detailed than.
It's Jim Surratt and.
But I think still we're getting
Yeah.
into minutia on this, Alright.
Well, anyway, yeah, you have, the 50% set was pretty extensive already, so most of it is in there, so if you
Okay.
wanna reference, you guys have the spec online.
Yes,
Yeah.
We can just see what was in there, and I think it's pretty much, I don't think there's any issues, but make sure that it jives with what you guys want, so. Let me know what changes you wanna make.
So if you went with the electric striker as opposed to the hardware, you wouldn't need the key?
No, it's exactly the same.
Okay.
What it is, the latch releases on one and the strike pulls back on the other.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's all it is.
some people prefer one to the other for other reasons, and they have to do with, a lot of times it's exiting requirements, and which one is easier or will function better and not have less problems in emergency exit devices, where you're just pushing a door, you have to make sure that it's always gonna work. So sometimes there's preference for one to the
what
other, in
happens-
case you've got a power drop
yes.
all of a sudden.
You got 10-second delay.
Yeah, or something, because there's all these issues around hardware which have to do with very specific kind of safety issues, but for standard operation,
Fail open.
it's whether you want to fail open, feel safe, it's just tons of stuff.
No, trust me, from
Yeah.
a contractor standpoint, it's light fixtures and hardware.
Yeah,
They eliminated those from our responsibilities, like
Yeah.
would be.
Or you can make money.
You wouldn't be
So-
spending
yeah, I guess,
50% of our time today talking about hardware.
yeah, so just let us know what you want,
Okay.
that would be the easiest thing.
Okay.
from our
All right, so
standpoint.
why don't we move on to open items? Item 5, Kevin, the coordination meeting, you guys want to?
Yeah, we
talk
had,
about that?
we just discussed that.
Yeah, we had a coordination meeting with Todd. We also had a coordination meeting with the other individuals in town and around town with regards to the antenna in the tower, but everything that Zell had requested off of that list, Bob was taking care of during that coordination meeting.
Where are we at with like on IT? Who's actually gonna do our networking?
We spoke with
Susan?
Noise.
Yeah,
Yes.
but she just knows, who's the
Yeah,
vendor?
we found that out surprisingly that she was definitely taking a step back, so.
There's, the town uses Jake, I forgot his name, in the police department, we use PRS Group, does all our.
Alright, can we expand your, let's brainstorm with them so that we've got our phone and tel data
I'll get them.
and all our networking.
Rick from PRS.
And then where does that land on the project? Is that gonna be part of the GC responsibility for running all the Cat 6 or whatever we're specifying and then final termination?
I guess that information would be included with a call with Zell, coordination call with Zell and the town IT. This new gentleman, we'll figure that out.
Well, I mean, at a minimum, we want in the GC.
Who's gonna do what?
Well,
Who's gonna do all the
Well,
quotes?
we do have, I believe that we would have all of the, boxes and
Wire pulls, cable
wire
pulls.
pulls all set for any station, but we have to confirm that, somebody has to confirm that there's an adequate number and where they all are. Right now, it's strictly based on what the preliminary, furniture layout and, typical requirements for an office, but, so somebody would have to review what's in the document right now, what the electrical is supplying and where. And if there's more stations needed, if there's more outlets needed, we'd have to know that.
Kevin, can you coordinate that with the vendor Mike just made?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna get the information from the chief with regards to Rick, and then we'll coordinate that with Zell and have another call.
Mike, question, currently how do your guys access your network? Do you have wireless stuff that they're just
No,
using?
everything's wired.
So everything is for security, obviously. Okay.
So the T drawing in the back of the set, after the E drawings, T 1.1, they show triangles and everywhere for V for, I think there's a legend, but.
Yeah, there is a legend somewhere.
So they show the type of outlet on T 0.1, and then they show exactly the wall location of where things are needed.
Is there a furniture overlay with that too, or just to?
The furniture is ghosted in, yeah.
Okay.
I'll sit down with John Lucy, who did all our locations
Yeah,
that we have now.
He would look room by room and
Okay.
just say, okay,
So-
we're sitting here, we're plugging in
All
there.
he has to do is confirm that what's been done.
Yep.
Will suffice for them, and if there's any changes or wanna add anything.
We'll work with anything.
No, I know, but it's really just a matter of, because it's gonna come before they wire everything. It has to be there for them so that they can do it.
It's gotta be roughed in the drywall, and then the string gets put up above the ceiling, and so
And
the
they're
wire
pretty
gets
elaborate.
Pulled down through it.
You
So
know,
you need,
there's,
the location is what you're after.
there's a symbols list that shows you all the types of outlets and connectors and then the plans. So they should be able to verify this is good, or if they need more or whatever.
We'll do that in the next couple of days, so.
It may not be as necessary, but because small job, but sometimes we do get unit prices for additional ones.
Well, I'd like to see that incorporated on, it's like we're doing
paying
on
the same
site work.
price at the bid time, not after the fact.
No, exactly, it's easy
Somebody's
to,
gonna cost them more later.
Well, but at least if we get a unit price in the bid, it might not be as aggressive.
Yeah, well, that's another thing we have to talk about is.
Okay, we can get back to that.
Yeah. Whenever we get to it.
all right, are there any other open items on, coordination meetings though, that, what are we missing that you still need?
I don't think there's really much more aside from what we discussed. In terms of vendors and really it's just.
So what we've discussed is the
IT
only
and
remaining
IT and antenna stuff,
Okay.
that's really.
Did you wanna talk about unit prices?
Well, but there's several section issues that we have to discuss. So let's wait until we're moving through this.
Alright, so, item 6, Kevin, we just talked about hardware.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a stab at, I'm gonna incorporate what's on this, I'll start this.
Okay, we were gonna use that with, Jim Surratt, if you want.
Yeah, I mean, Jim is our DPW director, Jim is not going to tell you, he's gonna tell you, I don't want locks. Alright?
Okay.
Go down to Kelly's.
It's just, the level of detail we need
Okay,
is, I think, we're gonna, you and I.
He's not doing this every day.
okay.
This is, I mean,
Yeah,
hardware
so
consultants
you'll-
can't get it right, never mind,
I know.
for DPW guys get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just, you gotta just let us know what you wanna do on the.
Yeah, I mean, everything is going to stay the same, it's going to be, I'll give a little more specification on the
That's
ice,
fine, that's
the
fine.
Everest,
Yeah,
Everest
Yeah.
lineup.
and please check the spec, for what their, master system, what they've described. They described the whole shebang.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell you what we want, and then
Okay.
you're gonna
All right.
compare your plans and update those
All right.
accordingly, alright?
All right, that's fine, that's fine.
I'm not gonna spend,
No, that's fine, I just.
hours trying to,
No, I just, because the actual, it's all been listed once, I just figured you can just.
we'll raise the question, you can confirm whether or not it's,
Okay.
needs to be updated or it's.
All right,
Okay.
that's fine, that will work for us.
Alright, so, as you can see, everyone has been very busy, we've got most of these eliminated. So, conservation and planning updates.
So, yeah, the meetings went well in both cases, and the decisions were signed, and it's a done deal, basically. The only question that came up in Wednesday night's meeting regarding the site was regarding the walkway that's shown to go out to the new sidewalk, to the street.
What page you looking at?
This had
1.1.
come up.
What?
C 1.1 has it?
See 1.1. So the question is, put it simply, is the board is basically questioning the walkway that runs out to the edge of the sidewalk. And whether or not it's necessary to have a walkway go all the way to the street, since there is no sidewalk on the street.
That's a very good point.
And they're saying that under normal circumstances, you would have a handicap ramp situation there. But because there's no crosswalk, there's no other sidewalks, they're saying, this had come up before, and I guess there was some discussion with you about it, or they asked whether or not you wanted this. The idea was originally to have access, if somebody's walking down the street and all of a sudden doesn't feel well, or whatever, they can just walk down that sidewalk and go into the building. But I guess they raised the issue, is that really what you want people to do? Because there's no other sidewalk and you're talking about a curb. So if you have no curb cut, and also the reason that a curb cut would be difficult here is because if you recall, there was a request to add a catch basin in that location, which is shown right next to that.
So are they
So-
proposing just
They're
eliminating
proposing
that?
just, they raised the question.
I
but it's
like
never really
that, to
been
be honest
resolved.
with you. And the grade differential is where,
I don't think that would be difficult. Is it gonna be sloping down, but it's not gonna be a steep grade or anything. It's just, the only reason what I would like to see is for that walkway to extend as far as that, where the site signage would eventually be. Because the whole idea would be for that location where the site sign is and where the flagpole would be, that's typically, a sort of a little decorative area where towns usually would like to put a plaque or some monument or something, so that you could walk up to it from the building and, so we could terminate it pretty much at that point and not run it out to the street, or we can run down the street. It doesn't affect us.
yeah, I think you.
You wanna completely get rid of it?
Yeah.
Because you walk 5 feet, you go down the driveway, and then there is a ramp. Right.
Well, that's what I mean, that is where the access point
Yeah.
is. But
I'd
you
say
see,
eliminate it.
completely, you're saying,
Yeah,
take
just,
it out,
Just get rid of it.
just have it be,
all the way,
yeah,
just
it
landscape,
becomes a 90-degree.
okay.
John, what's your thoughts, anyway, before we,
I think we can get rid of it.
yeah,
Especially where the end of it is kind of dropping on the street.
Yeah, it's
And this
kind
catch
of,
basin,
it's.
it's probably more of a hazard at that point.
well, I mean,
Yeah,
at some
no,
point in
this
time,
is
the
why-
town is
this
going
is-
to,
Good point.
And they basically let it go, it's not even stipulated, there's nothing, it was strictly up to us whether or not what we
That's
wanted to do with it. So we can alert, I can certainly tell Martha that this decision was made to eliminate it, and they'll be happy probably.
Chief, you have any,
I have whatever
Sounds
the
good to
committee
you.
wants, sounds good to me.
there's no sirens, they ammo involved, so we're. Kevin, any feedback from you on that?
I've
or-
never been a fan of a sidewalk that goes nowhere.
Yeah, that's appropriately classified.
All right,
So we're in agreement, just we'll delete that.
No. We put the rubble strips in there and it's still not going anywhere.
so anyway, that was the only item that came up as a discussion, question.
I saw your email back and forth with Martha. She
Oh,
didn't
the other
come up
item,
with the
I'm
lighting,
sorry.
And she
Sorry.
didn't come back to.
I'm sorry, the other item that didn't come up in discussion at all, but I realized, and I talked to Martha's post-meeting, which was yesterday, had to do with her original comments about the aesthetics of the site lighting during one of the meetings previous, and that she was hoping to come up with some alternatives that were a little more, I think the idea was that they were a little more residential looking versus institutional looking, and but that has not transpired to date. And the only requirement regarding lighting that's stipulated in the decision has to do with the cutoff and all of the lumens and all of that stuff, which we satisfied in our preliminary analysis with the fixtures that were originally selected. And because no alternatives have been proposed, we are assuming that we're going to proceed with a bid with the lighting that's been selected to date. There's still the option and possibility of making substitutions, there always is, during the process of construction. And assuming that, there's not much cost involved or any cost involved.
The residential fixtures may not have the cutoff in the.
Well, this is why it has to meet all the requirements. So therefore, it's not an issue again at all as far as the decision is concerned. It's just, it was still an outstanding item that somebody may wanna take a look at.
So I would leave it like this, if Martha comes back with some alternate light fixtures and it doesn't impact schedule or
Right,
budget.
or cost,
Yeah.
really, and they perform the
Yeah.
same, the
Then
same level.
we'll entertain that, and we may likely have the
It may
vendor
be-
doing
it may be
a
not-
submittal for a
That's right.
substitution
That's
anyway.
correct.
That's correct.
So,
So any review could take place, and certainly others could have input on the review process.
Yeah.
And you wanna review the site lighting, you can do that. So that's the only other piece that, that I discussed with her, but that didn't come up during the meeting because there was no changes were ever
Right.
proposed for that piece.
I think I just wanna take a minute to say that to secure both planning board and conservation commission approvals in a 60-day period is a great credit to the ability of this team to get everything in place. But more importantly, town board's working with the building committee to coordinate schedule and process. Complete the drawing, but I think Zell, Jeff and their team, when everything goes in 95% complete and we're tweaking the minutia, the result is we get stuff done in a timely fashion.
It certainly was quite a bit of effort put in from a.
Well, it shows, it shows in the timeline on the schedule.
It should impact the overall drawing.
Right.
His clarity and his stuff is there.
So both planning board and Concom signed off on the project. The appeal period will be starting. I'm using Monday as the countdown clock, 21 days on planning, 10 business days on the DEP conservation, so. But keeps us on schedule.
Real good.
All right, so for open items, I think
Waterfall.
oh, exactly right. Sorry about that.
Flow tests.
Flow test. No, my thought on that is, Kevin, do you have anyone that you can recommend do a flow test? Because otherwise, I just think the fire protection engineer needs to.
Not offhand,
It's been kicked around the town and it,
Can't seem to.
there's no one that says, I mean, anyone can do it.
Right, I mean, I.
They should report
on
all the
fire
highways, they
sprinkler
get
guy
tested.
to do it, just send it
But
back.
it's gonna have to be a professional stamp on the report saying that,
Yeah.
because it's gonna be the design
Because
criteria.
Design criteria will depend on the test.
Yeah.
So why doesn't the engineer go out and hire the?
Because it's not in their,
Well, if it's a
it's not
change.
their responsibility,
So let's give a change order, because we're gonna pay somebody anyways, but if it's
Well,
gonna.
you know what, can we ask them to look at who did the last 3 flow reports that they got, the flow test, and,
Up in this
I
area,
mean, I didn't care if it's up in this area, it's not,
it's gonna be a half a day anyways.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's probably report.
Everything is $3,500.
Across town. You know, there was a comment about this report didn't wanna do it or something, or what was the comment?
We're not looking for them to do it, we're just looking for them to
Normally,
say who's the company.
normally,
Oh, sorry.
normally,
They must use-
larger cities require
I said
annual
E-Barker,
flow
E-Barker,
tests.
Fire Protection was the name that came up in email. What was it? E-Barker? E-B-A-C-H-E-R?
Oh, is that what the,
Something like that.
okay, is that what the chief?
That's
fire
what was
chief-
in that email, it was
Okay.
flowing from Tracy.
Kevin, can you reach out to, that should be in this packet then,
Her email there.
or certainly the email was circulated. John, will you work with Kevin and get him the E-Barker, see if we can get them scheduled? And what we need to do for procurement. I think the problem is up here, they don't require, flow tests, annual flow tests like they do in Boston, Cambridge, or.
And not many buildings are being put in that require a flow test to determine whether a fire pump is needed. So it's just not the norm.
All right, so, John, you and Kev are gonna be, we're gonna change it from Town of Newbury to John and Kev.
Incorporate?
Yep. Right, you get paid?
2019.
Anything else we wanna add to open items? Sal, this is probably more, this is your opportunity to add to the, outside of what we've already talked about.
Well, I do want, I mean, there are some issues and concerns I have regarding specification of the project that require owner input, and we can either discuss them now, or if we wanna do that offline, but we need information so that we can finalize.
You have a short list of the sections
Yes.
that are affected?
Yes, I do. It was issued in the specifications at 50%. We wanna make sure that,
Do you have your, are they all
they're
highlighted?
highlighted.
What, I'll make some,
Sections-
give me
The
pages.
sections that I
You have
wanted to
questions?
discuss and,
Alright, I'll make a
have
couple
been
of copies.
highlighted. And we can go over some of those now, or you can review.
Well, when we review them to highlight them in our thoughts, and then we can take it back.
And that
Okay,
would,
so
maybe I can briefly just tell
That's
you
what I mean.
what the issues are.
that's what I mean.
And
And if we have to think
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
I like
okay.
that.
Alright. We'll do that.
Did I read in the site work that we're gonna excavate all material to a certain depth as soon as it's all gone? Is that what,
Not exactly.
okay,
No, that's, so what's gonna happen is some material will be removed to, basically it's clear. Okay,
so cleared and grubbed and we're ready to
ready.
excavate something.
now, what we're assuming is improvement of the subsurface, because we're not gonna excavate 16 feet
Okay.
of fill.
Right,
So,
we said that a long time ago.
so geopiers or some device which is now being, that piece is still being decided about what that's gonna be. And so that gets done, and then some fill comes back to get to the grades that we
Right.
need to be at.
Proper subsoil versus flat.
So what we're doing is basically adding, we're adding more than we're removing.
Mhm.
Because we're actually leaving so much of it in place, that the stuff we're putting back can either be cleaned, stuff that was removed partially, cleaned out, and if it's meets requirements, or new structural fill to support the actual building once we have the improvement done in the subsurface. So it's kind of a,
I didn't realize these were double-sided when I did it.
oh, yeah.
I'll, so just pass one copy
Yeah,
down. So keep 2 pages and just keep circling, I'll give you the backup pages.
So I can just briefly tell you what questions are with regards to these sections. So you can either check the spec, what's in there now, or what's missing, but, so the first item is the instructions to bid. We're assuming that we will go with e-bidding, which is common now, obviously, everybody does it. I'm assuming that will be the way that this is done. It costs some money, but it makes life a lot simpler for the owner not to have to deal with. Right, so that we just want to make sure that we're in agreement that it will be done that way.
And Jeff brought it up last time.
Yeah, I'm sure
it's
it's,
when it fly.
so that's all,
So that's
just,
good.
okay. So we will need from the town to request prevailing wage rates that we can include in the spec when we go out to bid. Those are only issued every, I don't know, 6 months, every 4 months, whatever they are, they're
So
updated.
that would be issued to the town?
To the town. The town requests them, the issuing body, or the body that's actually going to be doing the work, or owning the work, should we say, it's your project.
So then we get that, and then you incorporate that.
You just send it to us by email, and we just plug it in, the prevailing wage rates. We have a spec section that describes what they are, but if we actually need the current ones to put in.
so they come up
I don't know how
July,
they.
I can't remember what it
Yeah,
was.
they come out either twice a year or.
It depends on, I think, when we bid the project,
Yeah, which
30-day
ones are.
window.
Now,
Yeah.
give me, for some reason, these printed, it didn't print the back of it. I know, it's partly challenged, I guess.
So the next item there on the list, I think, is what?
Unit prices.
Yes, so unit prices, the ones that are in the spec now are strictly for site work,
which is
which
pretty
is
traditional.
normally what's done. They have to be reviewed. These are from the last job.
Yep.
Which was just.
Does the
6
estimator
months
look
ago.
at those?
Yes, we will have a last, that's the other thing, is we skipped over this when Bob was going through these outstanding items, but we actually don't have yet the final cost estimate.
Yep.
Because we are putting together the final documents to get to them, so we're behind on that cost estimating piece. But because we have such a lag and we've got this next few weeks to do that.
Sure.
So we will get a update on the cost. But, so yes, so they will, and also our these prices can't come usually from our geotech engineers.
Yes.
Because they know what the current market is, and keep up with that stuff. And, but if you have any other thoughts about, do you wanna add new prices or?
Yep.
That's it.
Everyone else set?
Okay, I got that.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, the next one is alternates. This is the biggie, which, what has to be established is what they are and in what order
Yep.
you wanna receive them. And so, I don't think that in the,
We have the bidding alternates listed on the front of the June 11th.
right, but I didn't wanna assume that is what we were going with.
No, it seems like the order is actually reversed.
This is why I,
Yeah, I mean, I think,
We need to get this list, Bob, in order, and the way it works is that when you list it, if we have extra money, we accept number 1 first, we accept number 2, 3, 4,
it
5.
just gets added to
You don't
the
have
total.
extra money and then decide which one you wanna pick.
No, it doesn't work that way.
So it seems to me that the order's almost reversed, that, we want this one first, and we want this one last.
you know what's interesting is, I wanna say on the Merrimack bid, they went out of sequence on what was.
I don't think
No,
that
you
that's,
can't. You're
I
not allowed to do that at all.
Not
I think that could have been challenged, maybe they didn't challenge.
Maybe I was just misreading.
I should have
the-
made a difference in the bid.
Unless
Yeah,
you took them all.
It makes,
Yeah,
the total
That
is
would have
always
made it Ralph
fair.
Lowe and L. D. Russo not.
This is why,
Well,
and they could challenge if they wanted to,
Okay.
if
So
nobody challenges.
specifically because of
Nobody cares.
every sub has different numbers, then it
Yes.
seems like you're picking the sub.
so we have a base bid, we have 7 alternates.
Yeah.
Whoever's combined bid is the lowest.
No, it doesn't work that way. So you've got a low GC bid,
Okay,
okay?
yeah.
Now, you say, okay, we want alternate 1. Alternate 1 gets
Oh, okay,
added,
so
each
then
person adds theirs
it's
to
the
their
total
number,
gross
and
out.
then is the
Yeah,
total
select
sum
that.
of.
Eric's low better, not you.
Yeah, that's right.
They all
That's
provide
what
numbers
happens.
for you, Bob, so when you look at it, you'll have your first column, base bid, and then each individual alternate will have a number to it.
Okay.
But little guy, he's the lowest, okay, we have money to take the first alternate, you add that onto that, see what the other guy is. Once you
Yeah.
take that first alternate, the first guy might not become the second guy, if the second guy is
It's
low.
screwy, it's
Yeah.
really screwy.
You'll see in the Merrimack bid that some people had for the first alternate 0, and someone else had $78,000. It was something like that, it was all over the place.
Yeah.
And it wasn't hard to figure out who had incorporated what, or,
Yeah. It's
Well,
tricky.
let's just put it in the order that I.
so I'll retype the order, send it around, and we'll double check it.
Why don't we just go right through it right now, we'll just wait them,
So,
what's your recommendation on that?
It's almost backwards. I do aluminum flat windows in lieu of fiberglass. Add elevator, attic stop, vertical granite curbing in lieu of sloped. Park benches, building sign, flagpole, plantings.
So completely reverse to what's there.
Right, yes.
Can we discuss this real quick?
Yep.
So the aluminum windows you want as alternate one, I understand that. Now, the elevator, you just said that it stopped. I thought that the whole elevator was gonna be an alternate. Is that changed?
It didn't change,
Didn't
but
change,
I
but-
think Fogarty picked it up as only the stop.
Right.
Yeah,
Should be the
but
whole-
Okay,
that's,
should be the whole elevator.
that's why I'm asking,
Yes.
because I knew that wasn't okay.
So I mean, the intent was that we would have power, shaft, openings prepped to
That's
receive.
correct.
It's
but-
really delivery of the equipment that was
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, I was just reading it up.
What I think is gonna have to be the way this is done, if this is what you want, is that the elevator shaft gets built, the masonry gets built, the power comes to the shaft for the motors, and the openings are there, but we assume drywall
Right,
over.
sheetrock over.
So I'll have a
And then-
thermostat system going across the receiver.
That's if you don't accept the alternate for the elevator. The thing about this alternate, elevator being made the alternate, the tricky part is that the elevator has to be bid as a sub bid, as we all know.
Right,
So
not something.
it's gonna, we've had jobs projects where nobody submitted a bid for an elevator. Literally, no bid, zero.
That's great.
And we had to go ahead and select the GC, move ahead, rebid the elevator, hoping to get someone.
Sure.
And you do eventually, so eventually somebody will bid it, but it's a tricky process, so it could. Last job we bid, we had one elevator bid.
Okay.
And it was fortunately not ridiculous in terms of price,
Sure.
it was okay, it was actually made sense.
So your recommendation is do not carry this as an alternate, put it in the base bid and what?
I think that the secondary issue here is whether or not there's going to be some pushback from users and or town in general about having a public building that's inaccessible to the.
Well, I mean, the only reason we're even doing the alternate bids is to target.
I understand.
You know that.
I
and it-
understand why you're doing it.
And it,
My issue with the elevator is strictly about what kind of issue you may have with code-related requirements.
I mean, we got a complete sign off on
I
another,
understand,
which was in writing, which was.
I understand.
So what Zell's saying too is that the backlash for doing it this way has come.
We're not recommending, I mean, the only reason that it's even an alternate is because we have a 6.5 budget. And if we have to go back to town meeting, they get to decide as a
You want-
whole,
yeah.
whether they wanna invest the $1.50 or $1.75 for it.
Mhm.
So that quells any backlash, because you get to make the decision. My concern is if we go that route and we wind up having a gap in the bid, or it's a zero bid.
So let me put this out. I would suggest, if you wanna go ahead with it as an alternate, to make it alternate one. In that, the reason being, it's the most expensive alternate.
Okay.
That's the only reason. So if you're gonna get it, you get it. If you're not gonna get it, then you go back to town for all the alternates.
Right.
See?
We're gonna go back, I mean, there's nothing, we're not proposing anything we don't want.
Oh,
You know
I
that, so-
understand. I'm
So,
just
I
saying
mean,
that,
And I think what the intent is, when we go to town meeting, we're gonna go for the aggregate sum of all the alternates as one warrant article. It's gonna be all or nothing.
we're not gonna get into, you get to pick and choose, it's. Because
Oh, I see, so.
yeah, we're not,
It's all or nothing.
we're gonna, let's say that all the alternates equal $360,000. And we're at 6.9 million.
Mhm.
That 360 is going to go back to town meeting, as a warrant article to
Okay.
fund all the alternates.
So that would be the simple.
Yeah.
Simple.
No, that's how it's gonna go, we're not gonna have 11 articles that say, okay, do you want siding, do you want
Okay, no, but
lighting or
I guess what I'm
flagpoles?
getting at is if you get a good bid that's 200,000 below below budget.
Oh, yeah, we're only gonna go, yeah,
And you only have money to accept one or two bids, the alternates,
Mhm.
which you could automatically accept.
exactly.
Then you only have a few different alternates left, right? So it's not an absolute. You could be going back to town to get alternate 3, 4, and 5, but you can
That's fine.
put in 1 and
Let's put
2.
The way we're timing this is that before we have to award, our specification docs are going to be that we get to go to town meeting. So our bids come in, if we get 30, if customer practice 30 days.
60 days usually.
Well, then we can actually go to town meeting. Town meeting can decide if our 6.5 doesn't cover the entire scope, whatever the additional cost is. So worst case is if they turn down all the alternates, then we just award based on the base bid. I mean, I don't anticipate anything that we're not going to be able to make an overwhelming argument that we want wood siding on our critical facility versus vinyl siding, but until we have a change of budget, it's the only way we can do it. We have to come out of the ground this year. There's no other way around that.
So I was saying that, what if we come in under budget, but can we grab some of the alternates?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, I mean,
And we only have to go to town
we
meeting
have
for
6.5.
We can come in under 6.5 and add some alternates up to 6.5.
Let's say the base bid comes in at, well, I mean, we get 5.2 for construction. Let's say the base bid comes in at 4.8.
Okay.
And you get 3, and we're at 5.4.
Yeah.
We're only gonna be looking for 200K.
Got it.
And I mean, I think at that point, talking to capital planning and finance, we just recommend doing that with free cash.
There's less than 200K in the list anyway,
Well, if you add the full elevator though.
if you have the full elevator.
Yeah,
That-
full
that
elevator's
brings it
gonna
up.
be about 150
Right.
at least.
So let's incorporate the full elevator, it's
Okay.
alternate 1.
Yeah, let's go elevator 1, windows 2. Vertical granite curving 3. Let's do the sign 4. Let's do the flagpole 5. Let's do the benches 6. And let's save plantings for last.
Okay,
With siding?
Signage would be
No,
number 4.
siding.
there is no.
Signage.
Have that.
Well,
I thought that
we
the
put,
decision was made to use, to just do wood shingles and.
no, vinyl was an alternate. Vinyl was in the base and
Really?
wood is an alternate.
Oh, we don't have that.
Oh, wait a minute, wait, vinyl for the.
Exterior.
For the
Siding.
first floor, for the first floor.
No, the whole building,
Everything?
everything was going vinyl as the base bid.
I don't know why I
Yeah,
have
no.
this information.
It's shouldn't be news to anyone. It's in all our documents. Vinyl is in the base bid, and then the package that we want, which is option 1, is the alternate.
Oh, I'm just, I don't know why I didn't have this information.
It's, if you go back to the record, you'll see.
Well,
where-
maybe,
Yeah.
I'm not sure I can go back.
So that would,
That can change them.
The siding would be number 2.
Okay, let me ask a different question. Now that so siding would be 2. So, we recently completed a small, police station in Plimpton, which I mentioned, single story. Smallest building I think we've done. And there again, the budget was an issue, and we were gonna go with the vinyl siding. And I did some investigation and found a product that's vinyl, but it's heavy duty vinyl siding. It's like 2 or 3 times its thickness. And it looks much better and is obviously a better product. More money than regular vinyl, but less money than other things.
We want wood at the end.
No, I understand, but
So,
what I'm getting at is, as a base price, if we're going to go with vinyl.
We want the better vinyl.
I'd have a hard time with just the crappy
Residential spec vinyl.
And believe me, the reason it will never happen in this town, because Fred Davis has given me his word that he will lead the charge to get us our wood siding. I don't anticipate anything other, I mean, we could not have any alternates and just go back to town meeting and say we need another $300,000 if that's the amount. I wanna respect that we had a budget, and I wanna be able to pull the trigger, and if for some reason, which I would never expect, town meeting
Can't
doesn't.
pull the trigger for over budget. Pull the trigger for
Exactly,
under budget.
and that's what's driving this, because this has to get awarded in the fall of
Kick it around in
2019,
November.
so.
So that's really all it is, otherwise you're right. Your
Yeah.
thoughts are right.
Well, it's just a matter of whether the more expensive vinyl makes the delta different, less or more, but at the end of the day, it's the same cost upgrade.
Yeah, what I want is to be able to get an occupancy permit within 6.5. And if that's just cheap vinyl, and the town doesn't want to invest any more money inside it, which I know they do, then so be it, but it's,
Well, okay,
so I mean, our very detailed wood spec is the alternate, and
we'll just have to go with,
doesn't
Standard
Tyvek make a good siding that?
well,
They
like I
do
said,
so,
there are
sure.
now, like, we found this new product which,
Yeah, all the synthetic products, they're using them at the beach, they're twice as much as wood. The PVC
oh yeah,
shingles,
oh yeah,
they're unbelievable,
oh yeah,
but they're $600 a square.
right, but
Versus-
they never rot, never,
They-
Don't have to paint them.
But that isn't what we're trying to accomplish here, this is simply to target a budget so we can award, and I have full confidence.
Otherwise we would be having this conversation.
I have full confidence that the due diligence of this team will be recognized and appreciated.
all right, well, all right, so you were gonna officially send me an update on this, just because I want to have the directive. As to the alternates and the.
Well, you just put them in your,
I put it in the meeting notes,
So send the
so,
meeting notes,
so this is what I have, just so we can clarify this. Number 1 is the full stop 3-floor elevator. 2 is wood siding. 3 is aluminum clad windows. 4 is vertical granite curbing. 5 is sign. 6 is flagpole. 7 is the benches. 8 is the plantings.
So I got.
What comes after sign? Oh, flagpole,
Flagpole,
and then,
flagpole,
Bench.
bench,
Planting.
plantings.
okay. Now, what do we do in landscape? Is that what we're calling
For
planting?
1 minute, I'll be right back.
Okay. Because we're speccing lumen seed.
Right.
And the alternate is the planting.
Right. Or
Right.
trees and plants, and you get people doing some of the same, so it's not all that exotic plants.
Trees, bushes, and ground cover. And mulch.
I mean, this is now where all the work is, well, now we got our approvals, it's. Right.
So his next one is owner-furnished products and contractors.
Well, why don't we hold off on that today? All right, we can, Mike, do you wanna work with Kevin on that? I mean, you're kinda working on that now.
Yeah.
All right.
The next commissioning requirements that we discussed previously. And we just need that matrix list, Kevin, in order to make the decision versus the cost of what we wanted to commission.
You know, just write initials beside who's gonna deliver that, I think is the way to go.
Alright,
And it begins mostly with a K, not an R.
next item,
We just, owner-furnished products that Mike and Kevin are gonna kind of round up on what those are.
okay, what we need to know is what specific items you expect to deliver to the site and have the GC install. It's
You're
really
talking about dishwasher, you're talking
Yes.
sink,
Yes.
not sink, but dishwasher, maybe
refrigerator, range, that kind of stuff. Unless you want to throw it into the, the package, I don't know, there are often,
I mean, I would prefer that the appliances, the lockers, all be part of the package. I don't want,
I agree.
yeah, I mean,
So-
say our locker package, our evidence storage, all that, I want that just all part of it.
all that stuff I would recommend, absolutely.
Yeah.
But what we're trying to talk about would be, but if you want, the appliances would probably be a good idea because it's all electrical hookup. And you want the GC or the two contacts, all of that stuff. Because if we go out and we buy something and we have to then provide him with all the spec and everything else for it,
Yeah.
that's my only concern.
I want it,
It's
I want it.
generic residential equipment for the,
I have no
for that-
problem with it.
for that
Okay.
stuff, that's not a problem, but often the owner likes to select what they want up front, not leave it up to the GC. We would have to specify, some brand of, and some models of residential stuff for them to price. But usually the owner has specific ideas about what color, what model they want.
We have
This
no,
is why
but
it's-
everything's stainless steel or white, everything is gonna be electric.
G or other.
I mean, I think the only thing on the dishwasher is making sure that the noise decibels are 45 or less,
So
which I think all of them are coming in
okay,
at
so
that.
you want us to include all appliances,
Yeah.
Right, so we don't have to do shit.
all storage lockers that are personnel lockers? Yes?
In my opinion, those are usually done by the GCA.
Well,
They're in the spec.
not always, sometimes, but not always, that's why I'm just asking.
We don't have any of that stuff coming over.
No.
I'm just making sure.
There's a sample set of hardware in here too, lockers that Martha had sent over
Yes.
from a vendor.
Yeah, it's high end, it's expensive stuff, we all.
But you'll notice in our, I mean, for me, the locker room is the brass ring for our police department, getting them exactly what they need so they can store everything, that becomes home base for them.
Okay, alright,
And
so we're gonna start the lockers.
And we're carrying almost 400K between furniture equipment and Louse's computer equipment. I mean, it's right over 400K there,
It
which
sounds like.
we want to supply nothing from the town. We want,
So it sounds like there's not gonna be owner supplied equipment that the GC has to install. It's only gonna be furnishings that you're gonna bring in after the GC's done.
Computer workstations that are
Well,
plug and play,
that's-
yeah.
yeah.
That's-
So all we need to be concerned about is whether electrical or mechanical.
Well, the tower is
Works with
going to,
those stuff.
yes, the tower's obviously, but that's a little different in that we are actually providing the plug-in for the tower. So the tower just, we're gonna make that interface work.
Same with the,
Well,
gas
IT
station,
and the,
something like that.
well, the IT
Agreements
is,
with them.
yeah, sure. But it sounds like there's not gonna be any equipment per se that you're gonna buy and have the GC installed.
Dispatch console, that's coming off, right?
Yeah, but again, it's not usually installed by there'll be electrical connections ready.
Yeah, there'll be a third party vendor that we will.
But somebody else will install it, it's not usually done by. Okay, so, all right, well,
Bob, can I recommend that item be tabled to the next meeting, which I believe is August 9th? That's a short turnaround, but I'd like to discuss that with you and some of the committee about some of the owner-furnished equipment, because I think some of it's gonna make sense instead of throwing everything at the GC. If we could have that conversation, put that one off to next meeting.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we schedule an extra meeting between now and then, because you need this stuff.
I need to.
Because they're going on
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm almost thinking, do we have, what,
Next Friday,
I'm not here.
okay.
just come back.
It's gonna be a little bit.
Well, I mean, let's say this, I mean, we need a meeting, it doesn't have to be at 7 AM, I mean, we can do it at 4:30 in the afternoon, whatever. And not that I'm looking for a Friday meeting at 4:30, but what I'm saying is if it has to be another day or even at 7 o'clock at night, we have to meet at the fire station or library.
Well, I really just need to know if there's
Sooner the better.
critical.
So you're away next week?
I'm away next week.
Okay, and I'm gone the first couple of days, but, so early the following week we could get together?
Yeah, I'm gone, Tuesday night, Wednesday, Thursday.
And I'm gone Monday,
All right,
Tuesday.
so just looking at the calendar for, well, let's do this. When we go to schedule a meeting, we'll address that at that time, which is gonna be
Sure.
on our agenda here. So,
Then there's commissioner requirements, which the only reason I highlighted it is because at the time, it's a question about, still a question, what is the level of commissioning?
so Mike and Kevin are gonna figure that out.
Yes.
When can you have that back to, Zell? 10 days, you think, or 2 weeks, or?
10 days,
Okay.
10 days.
Okay.
So by the end of the month.
Yeah, let's say first week of August, just being, it's,
Let's see, next thing on here was, I had the aluminum clad windows highlighted as the alternate. I think that was because at the time, I wanted to make sure that what was specified was appropriate, and they're just, I think they're, Anderson, I don't know what they're standard windows, but you should check, make sure that they're okay. And it was a question of what alternative was gonna be, but that's, we established.
John, can you review that part?
Yep.
On the window spec?
Yeah, just check, make sure it's okay. Next item was tiling ceramic, stone and quarry tile. We grouped this section, for all of the tile work in wet areas, so, obviously in bathrooms, we have floor tile, we have some wall tile, some ceramic tile. We also typically put stone tile in the entrance, vestibule and lobby.
When you walk up past or?
With walk-up mat, yeah. And this was to confirm that it was okay to proceed with those materials, because, again, because of the budget issues, this, we weren't, when I put this together, we just wanted to be sure that everybody was on board with having that level of finish. The quarry tile is we usually put in kitchen areas, but in this case, we're not, we're gonna probably take that out, because I don't think it's necessary. We only use it, usually we do it in kitchen areas that are high use, for example, fire stations, where they constantly cook, they make their own meals, but but we're not gonna
Okay,
take it
so
over
sheet
here.
vinyl or something like that, here's what it is.
Yeah, it's gonna be standard flooring that's everywhere else, yeah.
I mean, I would standardize our carpet tile and
Yeah, it's
put down
carpet
with
tile,
a
we got-
VCT or a VAT.
Yeah, we have
What's-
standard
what's the-
stuff.
What's the next size up, like 16 by 16, is it?
For,
Well, it's a tile, but it's a VAT or VTC, what's the acronym for it? I forget.
Resilient tile flooring is what we are specifying, which is just standard resilient tile.
Yeah, just tiles or sheet goods.
No, this is tiles.
Okay.
It's all standard stuff.
Okay.
Next item is signage. As we know, the signage is an ad alternate, and it's also going to be a freestanding sign. We have not spent any time designing anything, and I think that what we would propose is to have either be carried as a allowance in the job to be designed later, and just be given allowance. Or if it's an alternate, we'll have to design something, but we didn't really plan on taking the time to design anything.
Well, we can have it as an alternate allowance.
Well, I mean, but I would expect the design, I mean, we're showing it on the plans now.
Well, the only reason we were showing something was because the development of the plan, we had to show the full development of that site plan. And we knew that eventually there would be a sign, eventually there would be flagpole, eventually there would be all of those things.
I mean, I think what everyone's expecting is what you see here.
The flagpole.
The flagpole, the half wall with the sign on.
Well, see, this is the thing, that's not what we're showing in the actual documents, we're showing a simpler sign, we're not showing, this was done for rendering purposes at the time.
Well, that's a good point.
the stone wall would basically just say police station, but it would be hard to get finer context of street address or something else on it.
I mean,
So what page has this,
all it does is, it's on the site plans, it just
just
spells
reference
out,
site
it just
sign.
references, add
Site
alternate.
civil says site signage refer to architectural drawings.
Right, but it's also going to be the alternate, and we all know that, because it's listed as such on the.
okay, but we do need a design on that will have to be.
Well, we need
designed.
some basis of which, if we get an alternate, then you could also then go to the sign fabricator and say, you know, you're gonna make and install this sign.
Yeah, I know, like I said, we have not made any design for it, and I suppose we can, if you want, we can.
Is it gonna be a fussy thing? I mean, if.
It could be fussy because.
My thought is take a picture of Salisbury, take a picture of Rowley,
Yeah.
what they did, and pick the one we like, keep it simple.
Yeah,
I can tell you what we spent in Salisbury, so you have an idea what to carry.
What
And it was
they're not
digital.
cheap. They're not
No, I
cheap.
can't remember off the top of my head, I know the guy that did it, so.
Well, we're not gonna do digital for the simple reason, we're in a residential, there's no
Yeah,
traffic.
it's not,
That's a problem for us.
Yeah, and that for there, it's,
If it was still out on High Road,
yeah, it'd be different.
digital might be.
I'll give you a number that's inflated, because we won't need to spend that kind of money. Gotta try and think what we spent there. I'll be on stock on Main.
We don't want this as a separate item to be done.
We can,
I mean, I
We
just
could
think,
even-
we need to give them some feedback, so they can come back with us, I wanna get it in the bid package. I
well,
don't
that's
want-
just it. You see, I was gonna suggest that if you wanna just pull it out completely and do it later.
Nah, I'd rather just get it in, keep it in the bid package. Why don't we, if we can, I'm gonna stop by both Salisbury and Newbury, and Rowley.
I just heard back from the Raleigh chief, he's available Thursday of next week after 11 or anytime on Friday next week.
Okay. I'll take digital pictures and I'll send them out to us, all right, via email. Or you can just
Yeah,
say-
if there's something that because it's such one of the issues that we find with signage is that each town has, not only is there requirements based on what the actual, information that's provided is, but the town sometimes has either signage requirements, zoning bylaws that affect the design, or sometimes it's historical issues and it has to meet certain design criteria.
Mm-hmm.
And so to design a sign at this point without having,
If it's a freestanding sign, then there's probably a different route than if it was a stone wall that needs to be incorporated into the landscape with the flagpole and coordinated with other items.
Why don't you come back with a recommendation, Eric, all right?
Yes.
I mean, if you really want a stone wall, which is what was rendered as a, that was.
I'll come up with some options and send it around to everybody. And
Salisbury did do stone, because it tied in with the stone feature.
And anything can be done, it's just.
What we do wanna do is, somehow in that valley, we have electrical going out.
Yes, you
Right,
have to
correct.
provide,
Otherwise,
you gotta run the power out there.
that section also has building signage, like just typical room names and stuff like that, or? is
Yes, the buildings, the interior signage will own standard vinyl,
Okay. Perfect.
that's not,
That
yeah.
would be the option.
No, that's gonna be in the base bed.
That'll be the next one.
The flagpole obviously is in there just because at the time it's gonna be an alternate, and we'll label it as such. And then the appliances and equipment is listed here because we weren't sure what it is that you want, and we'll have to
Yeah,
let us know.
I'll give Bob a call later.
And we can fill all that in.
Yeah,
That could probably be resolved today.
I'll send over a schedule of appliances. So we're gonna be, they're gonna be what, so we get a dishwasher,
Microwave, refrigerator, freezer, stove.
That's it.
So,
That's it for the.
I guess,
break room.
so what are we allocating for, are we allocating a 36-inch ref for refrigerator? Or you want that as well? We'll give you the,
Sorry, the.
well,
opening
for the
appliance.
Oh,
opening
yes,
for the door.
we need to know if it's a 30 or a 36,
Okay.
what you want.
So dishwasher, microwave, fridge, trash compactor?
Do you need one?
You know, Mike, what do you guys do for shop disposal, not for shops? What do you?
Have
Yeah, right,
just
just
shop
the box.
containers, yeah.
Okay. That's like a Syntax vendor or someone like that that does that.
Actually, we go right through the fire department once
Okay.
they dispose for us.
All right, I'll supply the specs on the dishwasher. I mean, I'm thinking, guys, we either just go white or stainless. I mean, everything is stainless today.
Well, not necessarily, people like the last job, they selected black,
That's the new color.
I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, by the time I get it built, I'd be thinking about white.
Yeah.
White and stainless have not gone out of
What's-
style.
what's
I always remember the avocado green color there, whatever.
Black hides the dirt, white shows the dirt.
Right.
We all have one of those that I like that.
But white shows fingerprints. I mean, black shows fingerprints.
The thing with stainless steel, that's, you know what,
Just the basic.
Mike and his team are neat nicks anyway. I mean, it's,
Lucy will take yours.
Oh,
Mike's a neat Nick. He's on top of the team.
yeah.
This slumps.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so the dishwasher, microwave, fridge. Garbage disposal, obviously,
Yes.
okay.
Oh, yeah, you know, it's incinerator,
Insta-hot or anything like that, do we
No.
wanna?
it's, burn yourself, those things.
Yeah, I figured it.
Okay. All right, I'll give you I'll generate these. I have those on.
What about the evidence refrigerator?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's,
like a color.
that's, well,
Is that a whole
the
system?
unit that, by the way, you're gonna have only the 3-foot one section, because for the size that they were, so it's a, you know, self-contained unit, and within it, you specify one refrigerated section. So it's,
And those get expensive.
they're expensive, yeah. So,
It's big,
So
$600
that-
too.
yeah,
Won't
that's,
do it.
We'll do it.
Salisbury's at $8,000.
Oh, the big money.
was it a double or a single?
Probably,
It was probably a double.
Salisbury would need
Still,
a bigger one.
even if
It
it's
was
half the
probably a
small
double.
one,
Still, yeah, no,
And
they're
that was a
very
change order
expensive.
because it wasn't spec right in the beginning.
Yeah,
Problem
so,
is now with the state, we have to keep rate kits forever.
And that's why I think
And
they
then
had to change it,
well, you could
the
have
storage
an
of those is-
additional, you can have just an additional refrigerator
Up in the-
within the unit.
Yes,
But the one that's in the
yeah. The pass-through,
case,
drop
the
it off.
pass-through,
Yeah.
that comes with the unit. So
Okay.
that's a different animal. you want a separate refrigerator inside your
Yeah.
storage, that's another.
So I guess what I'm saying is we should have a refrigerator for the initial packet in, because that was
Yes.
big bump.
That's the important one, and we can get any commercial refrigerator for inside,
Right.
so.
Well,
That could be the same refrigerator you're getting for the kitchen.
Or
So
residential,
when
yeah,
you send,
residential.
when you send off your drawings to the state for review and certification to compliance, that's when, I would expect that's when the refrigerator spec and that stuff is.
No.
That's not part of accreditation?
No, the only state regulated inspection that I know of, unless I'm wrong, is the health department. They inspect the cells to make sure
Or just
all this,
detention?
to make sure all that stuff is supposed to.
So who does the accreditation review for the 156 standard?
The state, the accreditation commission, so they're different.
But do we, how do we,
Do they review the drawings in any way before we go out to make sure we're good to go?
I don't think so.
And I think basically,
Jeff was talking about, was it just the state on detention we were talking about?
Yeah, because it's Department of Public Safety,
It's
that has their
public
own,
safety, health and safety.
own building code regulation
Right, right.
for
detention.
no,
all
I have
detentions.
a contact with the cell inspection people because we're best friends, because they fail me every year. And they know we're building new facilities, so I told them, once we go out to bid and stuff, we'll be in touch with them and they can come down and talk to us about the.
Can you reach out to the accreditation,
Mhm.
the board that does the accreditation, and just let them know where we're at? And is there any wisdom to sending them a plan set in advance, or if you could find out what they're, obviously, we're gonna spend a lot of money and we wanna have an accredited facility, we don't wanna miss something that becomes a
I'll reach out.
change order.
Donna Moores is the.
Yeah, ask her what the
Yeah,
protocol is
she
for
was right
new
at Amesbury, so I'll
construction,
swing-
okay.
I can swing by her house and give her stuff, whatever she needs.
When we were doing Salisbury in Hopeful here, we bumped into some changes and we had to go through all sorts of gyrations because could you put a certain string around the push button for the water thing? We had to change the whole system.
You mean in the cell?
The cell,
Yeah,
the
well,
self-contained unit
right.
got really hairy.
Turns out that, at least on the job we just finished, they took about the flush.
The flush system and the push
Yeah,
button thing, it was, the one spec was wrong, we had to go back to a different one.
But is the flush on the outside of the cell?
No, it was inside.
I see, that's
That's
why. Now the thing is that you put the flush outside, so the detainee calls, tells, flush the toilet. Flush it
Makes
the
a lot,
outside.
but it makes,
There's
it
no-
makes.
Well, it was.
I can't tell you how many times my cell block's been flooded by
We got the right
detainees.
one, right?
stuff.
Yeah, we got the right one.
And then continue
So that there's no
flushing the toilet.
standing water in the toilet. That's why. So it's a control issue.
And what about caulking in the ceiling? and
All
stuff
the
like that?
security caulking is done, all cracks, joints, material.
The hardened caulk.
Hardened caulk. That's all, yeah, that's all standard now.
Oh, the hard hand sealing, the hard.
Yeah, steel,
So I mean, we have an emergency, we lose power, genset kicks on,
that's right.
or the fire alarm kicks on, we actually have a fire event. How would is there any does the alarm system control the cell? I mean, I'm just curious. You have a fire mic, you know, and how do the cells fail?
The cell
Do they fail
doors,
safe, or?
the cell doors are manual.
Okay, so
There
there,
is no
that's why you require
electronics,
obviously 24-hour,
supervision.
yeah.
You have to unlock the cells.
Otherwise, it'd be the
Escort.
easiest way to get a prison break is.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
It's a fail-safe system.
Hey, it works.
No electronics.
Alright, what else you got on this?
I think those are the main.
Do we need a PUC system
What?
between this blackout and the start of the generator, which is usually a delay?
Yeah, I think it's in place.
It's in there? I
I
didn't
think
think
so.
Okay.
You can check. I
Again,
believe.
another item that was missed before.
Oh,
know.
Well, so everything doesn't crash.
Because of the,
Well, yeah,
We don't need to pay that now, later.
and that's probably on the low side because the milliseconds, you can't be less than 6 milliseconds on the switch. That's just when the backup power
I
unit.
think it's because we had to change all the fixtures afterwards. And that just drove it up.
Oh,
So as long as we got that, again, I'm just being the guy that came with some.
Joe, you just, no, but those are the things that,
You know what?
can you just do a search on that, verify that,
Yeah.
between the two of you, make sure we're.
And that's what I do on that list I gave Jeff, it's all the changes we had, that is a great chart.
I don't know if I ever saw that.
Oh, I gave you a hard copy, I'll forward it to you.
No,
Yeah.
Those are the list of change orders that you encountered on Salisbury.
Salisbury, yeah.
Yeah.
And I got, it's kind of like lessons learned, how can we overcome?
Well, you know what it is, you haven't been at all our meetings,
I know,
so so there's a empirical knowledge there
I'll
that,
forward you the list. It's the same one I gave Mike to peek at. It's a hard copy that Jeff might not have.
Okay.
He was thinking about France.
all right, I'm looking at the time, guys, it's 9 o'clock.
I got a breeding with my stallion in Maine.
Okay, so
That's more important.
why don't we go through what's left in our packet and on the agenda? And we can,
I'll review site works issues
Okay.
too.
All right, so the next document in your packet was a communication to the planning board. Then we have,
service request.
yes, Crum Tower relocation, that was a
That's all.
sample, that's,
So,
right. Then we have our Board of Selectmen's grant request letters to MEMA and Chief Riley's letter. Thanks again, Chief, for that. Just getting that in play gives us a chance to kick that can around or we're building in. Okay, the next item on the town council opinion on the site easement. During the planning board review, there was a question raised about an easement that was shown and what, if any, impact it would have. Town council did a title review, it's attached, and it's not a problem as we are now control of all the properties. It's no longer just the fire station, so. All right. The next document is peer review council, a peer review engineer. The planning board was a final memo to the planning board. Again, this is just for the record. Basically said that Zell did a great job. All right, now, where are we? Okay, National Grid. There was a request for getting our request for new service form and loads. Again, this is just for the record, that's been sent in. Tracy Blaze and her team, very, very helpful along with Zell and this, someone from National Grid.
Now, do we need gas on here, or we don't have gas?
We have gas.
yeah, we have gas.
So do we need to make that request, or is that National Grid gas?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're just following really what contracts is requested.
This is a much longer lead time than
Yeah.
we need.
Yes.
Never too soon.
But you know, that's a good point on doing the gas connection. All right. The next packet is Martha Taylor had sent over, a vendor had provided this information to the town. And I thought it was just helpful to incorporate it. We want to see that having the right lockers, as you heard, I think it's important to get that for our crew. And it's not inexpensive,
No.
but it's their home away from home. And they're in the cruiser, they're in the lockers. And our team has been patient with less than ideal standards over the last 20 years.
Since we're on the subject of storage, is there any high density storage plan?
No.
Or, no, we're just gonna.
You know, the racks,
Yeah.
the library racks that
Yeah.
move back and forth where,
We're going digital, we're
Yeah.
only keeping a year or two of
Okay.
physical records and we
It's just
digitize
gonna be
everything
in
else.
standard files.
Yeah. Yeah.
and honestly, that's why we were also
Yeah.
making the third floor, the attic area accessible.
Yep.
And any of that equipment is FF&E provided.
Okay, the next item is, there was a communication from the Board of Selectmen, they issued a charge on a advisory committee to review town hall. And this is outside of this group, it's basically to give some feedback to the Board of Selectmen on what direction they should consider. And I drafted this response, and basically listing all of the options, which is really from do nothing, stay where you are, to complete replacement. And again, this was just kind of a guidance document to get this started. We incorporated the sample workspace allocations. And again, all this was just a starting point. But one of the recommendations, just being past chairman of the capital planning committee, this really needs to start a capital planning. They have to kick this off, just by our bylaw. And so my thought is, we convert this from a draft back to we can release this back to the Board of Selectmen and capital planning. The capital planning then should document that they've received this, and then the advisory committee should be formed, or before the advisory committee does anything, it just needs to go to capital planning first. And what I'm thinking is that looking at the calendar at the special town meeting coming up in October, there should be some update of this advisory committee, where it's at. Our committee has been asked to play a role. I think we play the role as liaison. I think we've got a pretty full plate on doing what we have ahead of us. And that allows the three of us to rotate, so when things happen, we can do that. I don't know how involved the advisory committee is going to get, other than that of the handful of items I've listed as a starting point. They may come back and just say, based on the programming needs, we want to bring the building. And, or it could be, you either rent money or you rent space. And whether you're paying a lease or you're paying a mortgage, that's, but I think those are the half a dozen things that.
So Bob, on the town hall, or on the subject, I don't know if Eric could do this or so. I think the first thing that they need to know is the amount of square feet they need.
Yeah, that, if you look in the packet, Fred, what it is we know what the programming needs work, because that work has all been done. I mean, how we get everything to fit into this footprint is workspace allocations.
So they have the square footage already?
Well, they have the programming needs.
There is a document that lists room by room, square footage size.
Yeah, so it's just quantifying that down to the right size. And then what will fit an existing footprint.
So that document got to the point of what the town hall, from Martha's point of view, and surveying the users, what they feel they need. That document still needs to be vetted and drilled down and saying, okay, you've asked for this, but reasonably, I think you could actually use just this.
So you're gonna have any kind of third party?
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a couple of copies of
I have
this.
some older history, and I think, we can bring that to the table, and I think what Bob is saying is that we did the same process here, and we need to do that same process with the town hall. And you're right, that the first step of any committee is to go through that program and say, okay, we understand the big ask, we understand what the minimum is, and we need to come up with the livable middle, what's gonna make the town hall function. And we don't wanna go through this process and find out that we left out a room and some person standing in the middle of the town hall and they don't have an office in which to function and everyone's not happy about that. Nor do we wanna find out that we built this and it's two times as big as it needs to be. So that gets set, and that's one of the charges that committee has to come up with. And then they take that program and they have to evaluate it against just basically renovating exactly what's there, putting an addition on it, tearing it down and doing it new, or validating that at least here, is it more economical in the long run, or doesn't provide other values that the town hall position and rebuilding or all new doesn't have values that just leasing here doesn't.
I'm never a big fan of leasing anyhow, so.
Well, you know what, if you don't go through all the steps.
Some pride
that's
in
the way I look at it.
There's some pride in home ownership.
Huh?
There's some pride in home ownership.
Well, leases can go out after 10 years, so.
So, program, options, what's the best value for the town? We'll make a recommendation. And then another committee can pick it up and move it through this kind of process where we drill down and get to the details and move the details along.
I mean, from my vantage point, we're the due committee. Give us a budget, give us a scope, we'll try to expedite it. I mean, I don't have the bandwidth to want to get into a food fight on, do we stay where we are, do we just do this, do we just do that? And that's why hence we put down all the options. And what I would hope is, option one, renovate existing structure, just renovate the basement level. It's gonna be what the workspace allocation's at. If it all fits, then it all fits.
Doesn't.
No, but
We knew that.
no, but you know what, we don't go through the steps and remind everybody how we got there, then.
So could they do like the police station, could they do 2 floors?
Well, I think that if you look at the half a dozen items we listed there, Fred, honestly, if anyone else has another idea, I just put it on there, because I think that's the guidance up front.
I'm just thinking regardless of what you do.
Yeah.
Keep it where it is right now would be a good idea.
I mean, if you go through this, it's just leave the building intact, renovate the basement where the police are, or put an addition off the back and incorporate putting a pig studio on one part of it, and then.
Eric, do you know if there would be room enough to put an L addition on there?
Yeah, there's room off the back. There's certainly where the generator and the trailers used to be.
You've got
Towards the fire station, you have room to do almost an equal size addition.
You have like 68 feet between the back of the police and the side.
Do an L?
Yeah, I mean,
There's several different options of adding 2 stories or 1 story or off the back. Yeah. But I think each one of these ideas, which needs to have, okay, here's the program size, here's the cost, here's the reasoning why this is a good option. Here, and then in a matrix, you'll get from cost, from least to most expensive, and then you'll have a recommendation as to why one of those is the better option.
Yeah.
I mean, most people will focus on cost. Some people will focus on the program needs, but you gotta put the 2 together.
I would hope that of the 6 items identified, if they don't add any, each one is identified and it's just weighted 1, 2, 3, how they recommend. And I think that's what should go back to the selectmen. I don't think it should go back as automatically tear it down, rebuild.
I gotta run to it, sign those for me.
Now, that may be the case because nothing else fits the need. And the default is you just stay where you are. Let the landlord worry about future expansion. So I guess, John, just before you go, this is in draft form. Again, this is just my humble thoughts to get this going. Do we agree that we will participate in a liaison capacity?
Yeah,
We'll rotate that lifting.
If the motion's needed, I'll make a motion that we accept
Okay.
this, and if you wanna tweak it, then we issue this as soon as possible to the
I'll send this out right to, this will go right to, back to
Board of
Town
Selectmen.
Administrator, Board of Selectmen, and Chairman of Capital Planning. And then we can
So
go,
then we need to make a motion to this.
yeah, do second, do
I'll
second.
second it.
Okay, all in favor?
I think it's the
Kevin will record that, that's
the
the,
right response and the right guidance for them.
well, it kicks it off. They could have a totally different idea, but at least it's a static, it's easy to redline an existing document.
Yep.
All right, next.
So that line is that this committee's gonna act as a liaison.
Well, you get a copy of this. We've just approved converting this from a draft to an accepted document to be distributed. And the content.
Well, you're gonna give it a reread if you think you need to tweak something.
Yeah, I mean, or if there's something you think too,
I don't think you should rank or number, or I think I like the way you just have the options there for.
yeah, I think those have to be weighted by the committee doing the individual review.
And the fact that the capital planning committee needs to be involved is clear, so that's good too.
Well, that way there, when we go to the STM and we're talking about the police station, we've teed up town hall to be reintroduced. Capital planning probably should be the ones given the charge to the advisory committee, or recommending to the advisory committee via the selectmen.
But then the committee has to be formed, the committee has to decide what consultants they wanna use. One would assume that they would logically reach out to you for a proposal, but they have to go through that motion themselves
Well,
when they.
no, I
that form.
understand the complexity of it.
And Martha and I have all past information that can be provided to bring them up to speed.
I mean, it's just being treated really as a fresh project rather than a rehab or something else. All right, so schedule. So we have no changes to the schedule,
Well,
or is there?
well, we have to modify, actually, the only thing that's changed is the fact that we will have to have, we didn't review the 100% construction drawings or the cost estimate because they're not done today. So,
We'll just do.
that's gonna be moved to August 9th, at the earliest.
Yeah, I mean,
It's probably gonna be even later than that, is what I'm.
But I'm not really concerned about that. We're still gonna be looking at
Oh,
bid
yes.
documents.
Yes,
Yeah. No,
That stays-
yeah, I mean, we're probably gonna plug in another meeting between today and the 9th to address the items to close those out for you.
Yeah, well, we need to close that stuff out.
I think you need
guess
that
what I'm
before the
saying
9th.
is- I guess what I'm saying is that maybe after the 9th, or on the 9th, we can review the status of, hopefully by then we'll have the price back.
Okay.
That's what I'm suggesting. We should by then have, because we hopefully can get the majority of this wrapped up next week and get cost estimate back by the 9th.
Okay.
So that's what
So, I mean, we'll just make a notation, review CD cost estimate, estimated for August 9th.
yes, that's the only change I propose
Okay.
here. And then if there's, obviously the bid docs, are gonna be available for that date, the 28th. We may be making some further last minute revisions, so they're based on the final cost estimate, but.
All right, so I skipped ahead actually. I schedule a probable cost.
Well, that's the part that we don't have, because it hasn't been done.
No, our cheat sheet, so to speak.
Yes.
The only change on that, back in 426, we had an aggregate sum of 7.38. As of this week, we've reduced that to 7.2350. The only change is the allowance for security and CCTV system is now covered by our base bid cost. That's been rolled into, it's no longer a owner added. So we deducted 144.
So I'm sorry, could you repeat that schedule of probable costs is now what? Instead of-
Well, you have it in front of you?
No, I have it right there, I'm trying to, my eyes are all blacked out right now.
The only difference is, that's where we were at, 144 has been
Yes.
deleted because it's included
GCs.
in that, it's inside the GCs. And it wasn't just an ad, because we're still at 550 a foot there. So that reduced it to 7.2,
Okay.
all right? And again, this is not a budget, it's just how we're treating the approach. All right, and I think after that, do we have any other communications that came in?
No.
All right, let's open this up to public comments. Gents,
Well, I have a question, a few items here. The town must indicate they have required construction funding prior to bidding the project. This was in the meeting notes a month or two ago. Has this been reached, or where do you stand on that? Again, the word says bidding the project, which would be September, I guess.
yeah. Well, I mean, if you look, right now, we're looking at 5.2 in actual construction. We have 6.5 bonding capacity. So we can certainly, so.
I guess the question is, do you have the construction funding? The town must verify. Have they verified that?
Well, we have bond authority. We're compliant with the state law on having this, where that we have 6.5 approved at, well, yeah, and basically we go out to bid, and if we're over 6.5, we have to go back to town meeting.
All right, it's a little ambiguous when you talk about having that prior to the bidding, which right now you don't have because your budget is 7.2 and you only have 6.5.
Well, no, our budget's still 6.5.
Okay.
You and I have this
So we'll move on.
confusion on that, but
Let's
it's,
move on to the other one.
so what is your question, Jim?
Well,
We have
according to the
6.5,
notes,
we have
the town must
6.5.
The town,
Yeah.
the town, this is not this committee, but the
Yeah.
town must indicate that they have required construction funding prior to the bidding. My question is, do they have that?
Yeah, they have bond authority
Okay, I'm not talking bond authority, I'm talking about the funding,
That's the
approved
funding.
funding.
The bond authority is the funding.
The bond authority and what amount?
You don't go out for the bond, Jim. Okay, you know what, I'm gonna refer you to our town administrator on that.
Okay, that's
All right? That's what I would do.
That's
My
fine.
understanding is we will operate on construction funds, temporary funding that at the end of the project rolls into a bond issue.
Okay.
That's,
That's fine.
but it's all controlled by bond counsel.
A comment on the discussion here on the alternates in the base bid. I guess a critical item I've always understood to be, and I've always seen it very clearly in the documents, is the basis of award. Now, basis of award, as you know, could either be base award is base bid, or it could be the base bid plus the alternates, or it could be a combination of the above. In Massachusetts, it's always difficult to keep current as to what you can do and can't do. But it is critical that in the documents you put out for bid, we identify what's the basis of award. Is that, are we all on the same page here? And with our engineering?
Yeah, I mean, it's all controlled by chapter 149A, and we're gonna be compliant with that. I know what you're saying is, having clarity.
If you don't make it clear, my guess would be the GCs are gonna ask you by addendum to clarify what the basis of award is. That's my comment.
Okay.
in the elevator issue, and I've been hearing this for months, there's another way to possibly handle that, is to put it in the base bid, and then you could have it on the deduct rather than alternate add.
No, man, that is a good point.
The question on.
Is that, I mean, how does that work in chapter 149A?
You need you need to go one way or the other. You either need all deducts or all adds, but you can't mix and match.
Okay.
I don't think that's allowed.
I'd be surprised, I could be wrong, but why wouldn't you have feedback, alternate feedback?
Is that typically, it's not typically what you do, is it?
There are instances of deduct alternates. I don't know how chapter 149 currently deals with mixing those.
I don't see what the difference is at the end though, Jim.
It's just another
It's a method, right? No, it doesn't seem,
We have to look into that.
whether it's an alter, whether it's an add or it's a deduct, I think it,
What is the status of the elevator? Is it required or not required by code?
I had a written finding from I forget whether it's the ADA or wherever the commission was. What was it?
MABB.
Okay.
That's just.
On another project that
Natural access.
police stations are outside of your lobby, has to be accessible, but other than that, it's not open to the public. It's not a public building where even the locker rooms and bathrooms do not, within the patrolman's area, do not have to be ADA compliant. Because they're considered, you have to be able-bodied to be a locker room.
What about administrative functions?
First floor.
Okay, no, I'm.
Yeah, no, that's so, at the end of the day, Jim, we're not recommending we don't take any alternates. We want it all. If our budget was more than 6.5, they would all come in as base bid. And that's the way we're gonna do
I read
it.
something from Jeff in the meeting notes several months ago that he said he thought it was a code requirement. Is that still a conflict, or am I missing something?
It's not a conflict.
Okay.
And the Burlington Fire Department just built a 2-story building that both contracts and, were you involved, are you?
No, well, all the stations that we do, there's a fine line between when you need an elevator and when you don't. And you're absolutely correct in stating that. As long as the offices are all on the first floor, the second story is designated for police function only, where the civilians are not allowed to go and visit.
We still recommend it. I mean, we're going for all, as you know. I mean,
Okay, but it's clear you don't believe by code it's required.
Correct.
Yep, all right, I can accept that. I had mentioned to you the other day, wood piles versus the stone inclusions. Has that been looked at all, or are they?
We looked at it, it was entertained in the original review. Jeff had sent an email out to that, and there was no savings in cost, that what was presented was the lowest delta.
Okay, now, the other thing is the design build you're talking about, concept that apparently that's presently in the program. I guess I struggle with that I just feel that the engineering firm that we've hired to do this isn't quite capable of doing that design, so it's easy to say, let's push it to the general contractor.
Yeah, I think what happens, it's more of a liability thing.
It's a standard in the industry.
Yeah.
Now.
What happens is they're
Standard in the industry. We're just doing a project right now in construction where the exact same conditions exist. Well, not the exact same, but poor soil conditions exist. And the design called for geopiers to be added to support the load of the building. That design, the specific design, the criteria for doing it is in the specification, in the general bid.
About the tour.
And the actual exact design of the number of piers, the exact location of piers, all of those elements are design built by the contractor that gets the contract to do that work. It's a standard procedure.
We see that all the time, and it's the same thing as having the owner pay for the geotechnical engineer separate out of, instead of going it.
No, I understand how it works, and of course, this is on the critical path of the job too.
Yeah.
So it can be pretty tricky if the guy we get involved isn't, he then has to go out and hire an engineer, go through the submittals, get the approvals, and it's a function of the schedule also.
It's true, but the companies that do this work are highly specialized.
Yep.
And they have a process which includes their engineering design, their approval, the whole works. And they provide it all in a very, very short period of time.
And you feel that wood piles versus stone inclusion, now, for example, if a contractor came back, the low bidder, we wanted it, he decided he wanted to use wood piles, you'd have no problem with that, as long as you meet the criteria.
I believe that the submittal process, as with any other project, the contractor always has the ability to propose alternate methods of doing things.
Okay.
And we always entertain, we'll accept and review it, our engineers will review it, and if there's no cost implications, and if it makes things easier, and if it meets the design criteria,
is there any other?
It's not a problem.
Sure. Is there any other way that the site drainage can be handled other than what's proposed with this crazy underground
So
system?
we're already approved and done on that, but Jim, you know what, your questions are all good, but they're really not on the table today with our agenda. So it's 9:30, make your final comment, we're gonna move to adjourn.
I'm done.
Okay.
I just
Brett?
wanted,
Thanks, John.
if everything goes as scheduled, which it is going as scheduled, when would be the date to open the police station?
October 20.
October 20.
Theoretically, that would be substantial completion. It may take another month to finalize, maybe November at the worst.
This is not on the table this morning, but I'm thinking, my mind is going out from the police station to the town hall. So we should be probably ready to do something as soon as the police department moves out of the town hall.
I mean, that's a great question. I would anticipate, there's a lot of prelim work that's already been done. It's just gonna be reviewed, quantified, and then maybe modified.
Yeah, if it moves along in an organized process, this whole same process could repeat itself and be about ready for next October, November.
Really?
But I think what has to happen is, one, what's the recommendation? What's the cost? What's the funding mechanism? Because I'm not interested in getting involved in that until we've got the project, we've got the cost and the funding mechanism, which means the community as a whole has signed off, and if it's increasing bond, an override or transferring cash or something, whatever it is, that gets into place then.
I mean, it's a good starting time now to start thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're at 75% completion on the process here outside of construction. I think it'd be,
I hope it's more like 80 or 90.
well, I mean,
All right, 79%.
oh, including bidding and all that stuff.
Oh, okay, okay.
But we've got some work to do, as you heard, which is just really kind of going line by line.
Does it still have to go through the same process of having architects?
The committee, here's what's gonna happen.
I guess I'm going too far.
Yeah, no, I think, here's my understanding, the advisory committee that the selectmen are gonna form will be made up of stakeholders, and I think some part of us, and then Martha or whoever else. It's gonna come back with a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. And if they come back with 6 weighted recommendations and the selectmen say, okay, we want this, well, now you've got to do your public hearings and go get the funding. And if you get the funding, then you've got a project. Now, we all know if the most expensive option is tear down and replace, that could receive the most resistance. And that could then delay the project. I mean, it's been 7 years to get to the point where we are now. I would hope that, we don't spend that kind of time on town hall. Good thing is town hall, they're over in Byfields. They're not at risk. The roof leaks, we call the landlord. There is
calling landlords.
That's because you're a landlord, Fred. Any other business before? We good?
I'm good.
All right. I'll move we adjourn.
Second that.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you.